hello. Welcome. I'm so glad you made it. Guess what? We're going to have a really fun show today. And to help me with it, of course, there is the wonderful, the permanent Tom. Yay! Yay, yay, yay. Tom is here. And then guess who else has popped in? So many friends of the show. It's going to be a party. It's going to be Stephanie. Yay, yay, yay. Woohoo! And then guess who's here? Our first time friend of the show, Doll. Hello, darling. It is so lovely to see you.
Hi.
Hello.
So, here we are. Today, we're going to talk about, we use the term job counseling, but really all the tips and tricks we've learned about different professions and job vocations and who works out best in them. But before we get to that, would anyone like to do an intro? No pressure. No,
I'll go first.
No.
I'll break the ice. I'll go first. I'll break the ice. Hold on.
Okay.
All right. My name is Stephanie, like it says on my screen here for anyone. Let's see here. Oh, I have a YouTube channel, of course. I post vlogs a couple of times a week. I do a weekly plan with me on Fridays. Sometimes I do a productivity stream. I'm on Instagram and Twitter and everywhere else. And oh yes, I have 2 books out in the world. I have Tears of Yesterday, and then the second book is called Storms of Today. They are in a series called Detours of Destiny. And the third book is going to be released in May, and here is the cover of the second book. It follows a young girl as she comes to terms with some lies and secrets in her family and how that affects her as she grows up and goes through her 20s and all that stuff. It is based in Oregon, so there's a lot of real places and schools and parks and stuff like that in my book, and there is a link. Thank you, Glory. Appreciate it. That is all. Oh, and yes, if you watch my vlogs, you will be amused by how often my eyebrows go up like this while I'm talking on vlogging videos.
I have noticed. It's been wonderful.
Okay, yes, okay.
I love it. I love when people use their eyebrows. I'm like, go on, tell me everything. Doll, would you like to introduce yourself or no? Or
Yeah. Hello there, humans. I am Delcy Silverno. I'm a partially blind own voices author, also known as the Ace from Space. I write primarily sci-fi, but I also write short stories in multiple genres and a little bit of poetry. You can find some of my short stories are published in audio version on my YouTube channel, and one of my short stories is called Danger, and that one is available on Amazon, Kindle, and iBooks and Barnes and Noble and all the major online retailers in ebook version. So yeah, the sci-fi novel is still in the making. I'm looking for a literary agent, and that's out of my control, basically. I'm just going to keep on querying until I find one that wants my sci-fi novel. Woo! So yeah, that's me. If you want to know more about me and my stuff, you can go and check my videos on YouTube. I post when I can, and I stream on Tuesdays at 8 a.m. Eastern. If you want the time... Yeah, if you want the time zones, I can give you the time zones later.
awesome.
That's why I never watch your live streams. I'm sleeping.
I know. It's the 5 a.m. club in the West Coast. So look, those who are part of the 5 a.m. Writers Club, they can watch if they want. But people who sleep, no, they can catch a replay if they so desire.
Very nice. Well, Doll, I've got your link.
Oh, you found it!
Amazon for Danger, right?
Thank you.
And let's see. Doll, YouTube. Let's see if that'll work. Hopefully. That is the YouTube link that popped up when I Googled your name.
Cool.
And that is going to also show up on our the Twitch stream too, because we are simulcasting on YouTube and Twitch
Awesome.
right now.
I'm on Twitch, but I haven't started streaming there yet. I am on Twitch though.
Yeah, I'm still figuring Twitch out.
Same.
Yes, it's a very different. It's a horse of a different color.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Megan. Megan
Hi,
is
Megan.
here. Oh, it's just.
That was my phone. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. I was like, did someone say something? That's all.
I was like, I never called my species to come here for us.
Yeah.
I never called the aliens. Come on.
So, Tom, would you like to introduce yourself at all? Or
I hate that.
Tom is essentially the tech producer and everyone's tech support on and backstage for anything. And also, he has written a short how-to book for repairing your laptop should it run into troubles. So oftentimes people are like, oh, I need to replace my laptop. But a fair amount of the time, you just need to essentially give it a tune-up. And Tom has a short book on Amazon about how to do that, which, by the way, the link is below in the description, as is Stephanie's YouTube link is below in the description, too.
Oh, thanks.
Yes.
Woo.
So, anyhow, I guess that brings us up to speed, right? I mean, like, hi, I'm Glory. This is my channel, or my Twitch stream, or whatever. You've come to my corner of the world. And I write fiction and nonfiction. Most of it's humorous. Not all of it is humorous, though. Some of it's a little gothic. And yeah, I'm a mouthy person. And I have autism, ADHD, PCOS, EDS. That's Ehlers-Danlos. I don't know. I've got an alphabet soup of... Yes, exactly. I have an alphabet soup.
When I talk to people about Ileana, and I was like, I went in seeing why she was having these panic attacks, but I came out with an alphabet soup of stuff, and they look at me like I'm weird, but you get it. So, yay that you get it, but I'm sorry that you get it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it is what it is. Although I wouldn't be exactly me if I didn't have all of this. So, oh well, I'm happy with who I am. So it works out in the end. It was a wild ride to get here, though. I'll say that.
True.
Yeah, like I know I'm forgetting some letters. By the way, I know I am. Oh, also, I have a BS in psychology and education. I graduated with honors. I mean, like whatever. There is also not the diagnosable kind of alphabet that I also have.
I almost earned my BS in psychology.
I mean, honestly, what pushed me to get the BS was I thought it was hilarious that it's a BS. Because
Right.
we just like things that just... So for instance, in... Hello, Charlie. Hello. In...
Charlie.
I drink unsweet tea because I got to watch my sugar. And I add monk fruit to my tea originally as a sweetener, but we found that it actually helps me control my blood sugar. So that's wonderful. But we always mark on the jug when it has monk fruit in it, we mark MF because we think it's funny. I'm going to just be honest. Originally, it was just to let us know, like, do we need to add it or have we already added it? Because, Tom and I both have, Tom has ADD and I have ADHD. So, it was mostly just say, hey, what happened? Did we do it or not? Otherwise, yeah, we did find that sometimes we were both adding twice, and it's like, this is so drinkable. I mean, this is so sweet, it's just undrinkable. But we kept the label of MF because it's funny. We just like it.
I find that funny.
It's a little hee-hee. And that's just how we are. So let's see what's going on in the chat. Laura says, this will be interesting, excited to hear what you all have to say. I don't remember ever meeting with a high school job counselor. I did well on a report about a job field of my choice and qualified to get an internship my senior year in it. but I had to do it all myself with my parents' help. They didn't give me names of companies to apply for or anything. So that really brings up an issue. It used to be, okay.
In the before times.
Which before times are we going? Are we going pre-civil rights movement before times? Because that's where you saw job counselors in the white schools.
Yeah.
And then after civil rights movement and full integration in high schools, you saw less and less fewer job counselors, except in a few places. So in the Deep South, you would still find job counselors because, well, if you're in the Deep South, you know, we really love always doing what we've always done. And so we still had job counselors. So we went to school in the Deep South. Well, partially, you know, y'all know I also went to high school in Canada to escape the Deep South, but that's a whole different story. And, but we still had job counselors. However, we noticed that the job counselors were really reticent to counsel on jobs because they were all starting to realize that job counseling as they had been taught it was absolutely BS because their former students were coming back to them saying, the advice you gave me was absolute crap. So there was that going on. There was all sorts of oddness. I'm so sorry, CB. I hope things work out. We'll miss you. So they were sort of phasing out job counseling in general, like a person talking to you about your interests and your disinterests to help you find your vocation. Specifically in art, we actually had job counselors in middle school, in part because we had vocational schools available. So you needed to know by 8th grade if you were going to head toward the academic high school or the vocational high school. Like that was really important. And that's why we had job counselors in middle school as well. And I've noticed that places that have a vocational high school option tend to have job counselors in middle schools, but I'm not going to say it's like a hard and fast thing. But there are plenty of vocational schools in the Deep South.
Another place we actually have job counseling in Mississippi that others may find a little odd, but Mississippi does have the this standard that everyone judges against for their
community colleges?
Yeah, for the community college, junior colleges.
Okay, yeah. Quick flex. Mississippi has a really excellent community college program. Like, look, there's not a lot of things that we're going to actually brag about Mississippi. Y'all know that we have many issues with the state we live in. But I will say the community college program really is essentially that gap between the end of high school and college. Not everyone is quite prepared. Like they can be academically prepared, but that doesn't mean that mentally and emotionally they are prepared for the full college independent experience. And the Mississippi Community College program, which is statewide, and there's like a community college every hour and a half drive, and they are set up as a web on purpose that way. And they are really meant to bridge people through. So you can do in Mississippi, if you want, you can go to the community college, your local community college, and take all of your prerequisites. So you're thinking like English 1 and 2, algebra 1 and 2 for college. You can take all of those. You can take essentially all your basics in a community college, and you get a much smaller school classroom. So instead of like my History 102 class had 193 students in it and had 1 professor and 3 TAs because it took that many people just to grade everything. The community college side, because I think, Tom, didn't you take history? I told you I was at the university at the time, and I'm like, don't take the History 101 and 102 at college. Take it at the community college. So what size was your History 102 class? Was it like 20 or 30?
It wasn't 30. It was somewhere between, high teens, low 20s.
And honestly, I took Psychology 101, actually, at the community college, a different one from where Tom went. And I found that such an enjoyable experience because I could actually, after class, go and chat with my professor about what he had just covered or what he was going to cover next. In fact, I ended up babysitting for my professor because I went to a community college that had dorms, and he lived on campus as well because they had faculty housing, and he had a daughter who had Down syndrome. So he liked to hire, college students who lived on campus to like just come by and essentially hang out with her. He was still in the house, although sometimes he did go run errands. And it was such a nice experience that it actually led me into the education program. But, nevertheless, it was so nice having small classrooms. I ended up taking Algebra 101 in the community college, and there were 14 students. So, we met 3 times a week, and I could sit there, and the teacher was like, did anyone have any questions from yesterday or Friday's homework or whatever? And I would say, well, I had problems with these 3 problems. I would list them. And she's like, who else had problems with these? And that was literally, we would then do it on the board. She'd go over it and I would like make notes. And that was incredibly helpful versus at the university, I found out for the Algebra 101 students, you don't get a professor. It's a center. And you get a computer that you work on. And if you have a question, you can ask the TA. It is not a real TA because they don't know anything about math. They're just there to monitor the computers. And that's it. And you're just out of luck. So there's some students who end up taking that class for 3 or 4 semesters because there's nobody there qualified to answer their questions. And that is all that is available for introductory algebra, which is a degree requirement for every single bachelor's degree at the local university. And that's all they have. So this way, again, like the community college program here in this state is actually really quite lovely. And I only have found good things to say about it. But again, that's not exactly job counseling, but I've had job counselors, point that out about you should consider the community college experience because it's smaller classrooms.
But I actually did have job counseling at the community college where I went. They did actually have them there. They weren't that useful because again, what job counselors have been taught about finding people, professions versus the reality are so different in our experience. In part because you can train people to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
The real question is, do you have the temperament needed for a job? Can you just do this day in, every day for years and decades? And that is not what job counselors are taught about. And that's part of why we wanted to do this, episode, is to talk about, so we've observed all these professionals over the years. We've talked with a lot of them. We've had friends in so many professions. And you find out like the jokes and the little stereotypes they have about everyone they work with. And you start to piece together but this is what you need to do to be able to keep doing this job all the time and not just burn out within a year or 2. Like we see with most jobs, people burn out really quick because they are not the kind of person that's really set up to do that job.
Yeah, I think temperament and personal interest in like where there's an overlap between the job and their like hobbies can be very useful. Hi, Eva. No, don't worry about it. Everybody's running late today. I've noticed. It's fine.
Oh, yeah.
It's just that sort of day. And so one of the things we've kind of noticed over the last several decades is various professions have these quirks of hobbies or particular temperaments that apparently make them very well suited to essentially go the long haul in a profession. And I know, like, the whole millennial thing about millennials job hop, but ideally millennials don't hop like big industries. They don't hop in and out of various industries every 5 years because that is a lot of training to have to go through. And it's much harder to get a job in a particular industry if you have little to no training in that.
Yeah.
And it's still possible, but ideally they're more jumping from company to company. And so we're trying to help people avoid the industry hopping, because that is where you lose time, you lose momentum, and you also have to essentially network anew. You start over with your work network of colleagues, and that can be really set people back, especially if they are not the social butterfly that I am and love to network. Like, I wish I could have a job where all I do is network. Like, truthfully, I would love to network with people and computers, because
I am your introverted counterpart, because
Yes.
I can't. I mean, I can socialize and I enjoy it but in like small doses, and I need to recharge after a while. Like, it's been 3 hours, guys. I need to go. Bye.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
exactly.
so I don't have the temperament to like go to a conference every 2 weeks and mingle with a bunch of people that I don't know and talk to them and everybody has and give cards and oh my god and talk about all the now I have a great memory. Like, I can remember things that happened like 3 years ago, and I still remember your name, where we met, what we were talking about. I still remember. Like, I have all the skills. I just, like you said, Tom, I don't have the temperament. I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
I can have all the memory in the world, but and I can enjoy socializing, but my body is like recharge time. Bye bye.
Oh, Tom can relate. What's that like, Tom?
Oh, I very much relate. I'm starting to suspect that it is actually a congenital problem of mine, and actually has to do with dopamine and dopamine production.
Yes,
Oh,
I
and we've
relate.
both been independently researching.
So I'm currently trying tyrosine supplementation to see if I give my body more than enough of what it takes to make dopamine, if it can actually start keeping up.
I have problems with my sleep schedule. Like, I don't know what it's like to have regular sleep.
Oh, honey.
Turns out that's also a dopamine issue.
Yep.
I know. It has to be some kind of hormonal issue. I don't know which one, but it's like since I was born, I cannot sleep at night. Like, everybody goes to sleep at 11 p.m. and wake up at 6 a.m. every single day like a little robot. I'm over here like, no, I can't.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely can't.
I have always admired people who can just like, well, I'm gonna go to bed, and then like they're gone within 10 minutes, and I'm like, gosh, that must be nice.
God bless you.
I can't do that. I can be like,
I've
oh, I'm gonna
never known
Unless
that.
I'm like
I thought it was
overly like
theatrical.
exhausted.
You know, like
then
in like
maybe,
ER,
but
the TV show and stuff, where the doctors would just go and they would already be gone. I thought that was like just for dramatic effect. I didn't realize until I actually worked for an ER doctor that, oh no, that's literally how they are. They actually are this way. And I'm like, well, that's good.
I wonder if like if you're a doctor, right, and you're working on long shifts all the time, and you're tired all the time. Like, I wonder if they're like that to begin with. The ability to lay down, like, I'm out, I'm going to go to sleep for 10 minutes, or if they've had to train their body to do that over
I'm so
time.
glad that you asked, because we have actually done research.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah.
Mostly anecdotal research, but we have essentially surveyed every doctor we've ever met, because in our family, doll, none of us go to sleep easy, except our dad, who really is like, oh, is it 8 p.m.? Well, he'll be gone within an hour. And, you know, he was always like 9 p.m. That man was asleep. It didn't matter if there were sirens going off. He was gone. But everyone else in the family and everyone on my mom's side, they were like, we would be up all hours of the night, or like you'd get to sleep and you'd only be asleep for 2 or 3 hours. And then there you are up in the middle of the night, just wandering around going, well, maybe I'll go get a glass of milk. Or
yeah, maybe I'll,
literally,
you know what?
the
What I try to do sometimes is like, you know what? I give up. I'm gonna make coffee. I'm gonna, like, it's 4 a.m. I woke up. You know what? Let's just get coffee and get on with the day.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's also actually part of, turns out in my research, it's because some of the sleeping issue can be because you're not producing enough dopamine during the day. So your body doesn't actually know you've been awake enough. So you don't have enough lack of dopamine to say, oh, it's time to sleep. So actually, if you find yourself up late at night, not having enough drowsiness, or like you're a little bit drowsy but you can't go to sleep, caffeine may actually end up being beneficial to have some, because
Oh my God.
it stimulates your dopamine production. And so your body may finally, after that, in 2 or 3 hours later, go, oh, we've actually produced enough dopamine today. It's probably time to shut down and recharge.
No,
Mhm.
that is accurate, at least for me, you guys, because like I'll drink
Yeah, it's been some really
coffee, and then I'll drink
interesting.
coffee in the evening, and then usually I'm
Yep.
able to go to sleep before the sun comes up.
Right.
Just in time, right? Just in time for the dawn. I've seen so many dawns, but not the way traditionally people see dawn, where like they wake up and watch the dawn. Oh no,
No.
I've only seen dawn by being up the whole night.
Right. Now, I tried because I never knew what this problem is because like it's kind of hard for me to afford doctors
Yes.
often. So I cannot, like, I am in situations where, you know, I'm a foreigner. I am not in the place where I was born.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I was in the place where I was born, the place where I was born, that's why I never talk about it, because I don't want to be associated with that place ever
Mhm.
in my life. But like, even there, if you cannot afford, well, you cannot afford, and that's all you have. It's like, if you can't pay a doctor, well, good luck, you die or something. It's it is really that bad.
Mm.
So my situation has always been, I don't see doctors very often. So I battle everything, every single problem I may have, I battle it on my own, like the natural way, or try to cope. Like, if you can fight it, don't resist it, and try to adapt to your circumstances. So like, in my days of a blind photographer, I knew that going to those fancy touristy places at dawn means there are no tourists, or very
Mhm.
little, you know, or very few people, like other photographers, basically, because they know this too, and they might go and do the shots as well. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I knew these things, so I woke up and I didn't even wake up. I was like at 3 a.m. hanging out at the 24-hour pizza parlor thing, just waiting so I could just start walking to a place. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do a photo session. Oh, where's your gear? My phone.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was a blind photographer, but like, adapting to my condition. Like, during the time I was awake at night, I was like drafting a story, or when I was in college studying for college, such things, like, adapt. Instead of trying to fight it, I was like, okay, I'm going to use the whatever waking time I have, whenever that is, and I'm going to do whatever I have to do when I'm awake. Now, that is not applicable if I try to get a 9 to 5, you know?
Yeah.
So that's another problem. And until I cannot never find a solution for my sleep problem, then it means I will never get a 9 to 5. And that's kind of worrying because I'm disabled. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, struggling with 9 to 5 jobs has been my entire adult life struggle. And that's partly like why, you know, it's just like, is it even worth it for me to try to get and keep corporate jobs?
Mhm.
Because, you know, they call it a job because if it were fun, they'd call it fun.
I don't believe that.
That's
now
like, you know,
that I'm a writer, I'm taking it extremely serious. Like, this is not a hobby. It's not a funsies. Is my career. I want to make it a career. I'm trying to be as serious as possible. So it is a job,
well, I mean, like,
but I love it.
there are some things that I have definitely done for free just because I love doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the things of, no, you're going to have to pay me if you want me to do that. And often that's what are the jobs available, are the things that, like, no, I don't want to willingly do customer service if I don't have to. But having that schedule issue has really made me question, like, is it worth dragging myself out of bed at 6 or 7 in the morning every, 5 days or sometimes even 6 days a week?
Mm-hmm.
Is it worth it to me to be in this workplace? And that's where I started looking at workplace environment. What is the culture there? And what are the people like? Because yes, it's true that the vast majority of people, especially since I'm going to speak from, a North American experience here, simply because that is the experience I primarily have.
Right.
In North America, most jobs available are going to be service-oriented jobs because we're not, as a country, we're really not manufacturing that much anymore. So most jobs available will have to do with interacting with people at some level in some way. And so that's service, even like housekeeping jobs are still service.
They are service jobs, definitely.
You're providing a service, even if you don't necessarily have to interact with people as much on a daily basis, if like in housekeeping, but you are going to get feedback from humans. You're going to need to be in correspondence if they leave messages and so on. So there is a people element to those jobs nevertheless. And that's sort of why we're mostly focusing on service-oriented jobs, because the things that are not, so like manufacturing, are less, we could say they're less people-oriented, but that's not really true. You're going to have to you're going to have other colleagues in a factory or manufacturing setting. You're going to get feedback on your output. You're going to still be interacting with humans. There's hardly any jobs available in modern times that are almost entirely free of human contact.
The only job that comes to mind, and I could be wrong, but like most of the time you would be free of human contact, would be like a forest ranger.
Actually, you might be surprised how much they actually interact with people, at least the state and federal level of forest rangers here in America.
So one of the other people that live in the RV park we live in, he's a forest ranger, and part of his job is to go and give tours to people, like people from he's had people come over from like Japan, up in Canada, and other like different states in the United States come over here, and he's giving tours of like the national forest here, or like on like river rafting tours or things of that nature. Because it's, he does spend a lot of time like doing inventory of trees and what trees have grown and cut down and whatnot, or what trees are missing that they weren't aware of. But there's also a lot of, let's show the people out there how fun a forest is, which I have no problems with the forest.
They also do a fair amount of detective work as well, because there's plenty of crimes going on in all the national forests and most state forests as well. So there's a level of detective work.
Speaking of crime, did you see that crime that took place in the national forest outside of Crater Lake, I think it was?
Oh, where the people were going to, were they going to wash or cook something? They were going to cook chickens, right?
No, this one was like the national forest. I think it was outside of Crater Lake. He had like property near Crater Lake area, national park forest area, and over the course of 4 years, the National Wildlife Group, I forget what it's called, whatever, they tracked down like at least 20 illegal kills of like elk, deer, some bear, and all of that nature that he did on there. Like they tracked using like DNA the remnants of the head that he left behind. Like he decapitated head and left behind, and they were able to so he's banned from ever getting a hunting license ever again.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So all I had to say, like.
So even that requires human interaction.
Yeah. That's just how it is. It's like, as I said, the fantasy, and I certainly understand the fantasy of just at a certain point, just not wanting to interact with humans. It's not a reality for practically any jobs in, at least I could honestly say, North America. We used to live in the Philippines, and even then, there was still a small amount of home manufacturing and small boat fishing where the fishermen were independent, and then they simply sold their, catch to canneries. Even then, though, you still had to interact with people because it was rare for one person to go out on a boat by themselves for safety reasons, and as well as it's just easier to pull in your better hauls with one or with more than one person. So it's just one of those things of like, it just depends. We're pack animals anyway. And it's more like finding the things that I think if you can find a vocation that works well with your temperament and your hobby interest,
Mm-hmm.
then the human interactions will not be so tiresome. They will not feel so necessarily exhausting because you've got this other area really working for you of like, well, but I've still got this thing that I do that I enjoy so much.
Right. Like, for example, something I did for free, even because, like, I didn't have a license. So if I tried to make it into a job, it would be troublesome because no license. So,
Right.
and they were very strict about the tourism license in Hungary. So I
Mhm.
never, ever
Heard about in Hungary, the tourism license.
yeah, it's kind of rough. So like I never did it as a job. I did it because first I spoke the language the tourists were speaking. Second, I had nothing going at the time when I did it. So and third, I enjoyed helping. So helping when I can, like when I know that I can, like when I know it's not gonna be like trouble myself, when I know that I can absolutely help you, I will. And I enjoy it because I feel useful. I'm making someone happy, or I'm easing someone's day, So what I did was like I overhear this Italian tourist going like, no, but you said that we had to take the bus this direction. No, you're wrong. We're now lost because blah blah blah. And I overhear this, and I'm like, in Italian, I reply, hey, excuse me, like, where are you going? What are you looking for? Look, Francesco, she speaks Italian. And they go crazy because
Right. It's always nice when you stumble across someone who speaks your language when you're out in the world. Yeah, it's always lovely.
Nobody, none of this tourists speak Hungarian. So they get lost and they feel lost and they're like, oh no, now we have to find a way. And I'm like, what are you looking? Like, where do you want to go? And they are like, we're looking for the castle. Usually was a big landmark, like, like a big touristy place, a castle, the parliament, whatever. And I was like, yeah, you're wrong. Definitely. You have to go to the other side of the city. But if you take this, you know what? I can come with you. I mean, I have nothing going on right now. So we can take a bus together. Do you have tickets? Blah, 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 blah. We do the whole find your ticket thing, and then we just hopped on a bus or a tram or whatever, and I just took them to the place that they were looking for because I had time, or sometimes it even was on the way. So I was like, cool, like I can be a little bit of a tour guide. And then on the way I was telling them about the city a little bit, just talking to them if they had any questions, but it was completely free. They never paid me. I mean, I wouldn't accept it. That's what I mean. Once someone invited me for coffee, like, hey, are you busy? You want to come for a coffee? Blah blah blah. And I was like, cool, but that was like, that was not a payment. It was just like we liked each other and we went for coffee.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think coffee or sharing a drink of some nature, tea, soda, a cocktail is a universal. Hello, I wish to invite with you, and we can chat, we can catch up.
Exactly. So it was never a paid job. It was just out of my own temperance, like you said. It was because I enjoyed it. I loved Budapest. I knew the city like a freaking taxi driver. And so
something, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had another student job. This one was paid. This one was a student job, so it was like pocket money. So that was not a big deal either. But I used to be a dog walker and pet sitter. So, of course, I went to the clients' places. I had keys for everybody's house, which was a huge responsibility.
Oh,
and boy, I never lost a key, which I'm proud.
Yeah.
And that's why I knew the city so well. I mean, I had clients all over the place. I knew every single transport line, the connections, alternate routes that we could take if some transport like crashes. So I was an excellent tour guide. It's just that I never had a license, and I never found it like tiresome, even though I'm shy, because it was temporary and it wasn't a job. Actually, I don't know if I would take it as a job because it would be like all day, every day, all the time. I don't know if I can do that. because of my
Yeah, well, I know some tour
Yeah.
guides, like for instance in New Orleans, where we're close to New Orleans physically, like
Mhm.
that was our stomping ground in our late teens, early 20s. And
Cool.
we used to drive down there all the time. But their tour guides take appointments. So they only take the appointments they want to, and they only work as much as they want to on a given day or week, month, whatever.
It's more of a commission-based job.
Right. They're the ones, they have websites, they arrange their own tours.
Nice.
And people come back again and again to the same ones because they enjoy, and they take like a different tour. So tour guides who have like, we can do the French Quarter, we can do the Garden District, we can even, go over to what is it called? It's not the manufacturing, but the warehouse.
The garment district.
Well, the warehouse area, yeah. And
You
like,
forgot the mausoleum tour, Glory. It's New Orleans.
Mausoleum tour. Oh, let's all go look at dead people all day long. And I'm just like, I don't know. Some people will pay for the whole full day tour of that one. Okay, whatever. They go to a lot of different ones though. It's not like we're just staring at one mausoleum.
Yeah, there's a lot of different cemeteries.
It's like I think like the mausoleum tour they said, because I asked like how many cemeteries do you hit on the mausoleum tour, and they're like, depending on the people and how quickly they want to move and everything, it's like between 12 and 40.
Oh my God.
12 and 40 if they want the full day mausoleum package. And I mean, like the tour guides, they set their own prices. They do all of that. So I could really see where, an independent tour guide would be very useful for the kind of person who likes to be social, but they definitely want to be in charge of the boundaries of that service that they're providing, that customer service. Because that's really what a tour guide is. It's customer service. And so I could see that. And I could see where, Doll, it would really appeal to you. And like, even I'd probably like it, except New Orleans in the summer. No.
No, yeah.
Budapest level of slime.
Budapest in the summer. I had to walk the dogs even in the summer, and I was like, no, I don't want to go. No, summer is just a no for me. I cannot handle. I cannot handle it. I am a winter person. Yeah. I love snow. I love cold. I could totally be a Northern Lights chaser and stream and do all those cool things that people do chasing Northern Lights. That will be a job for me. I love that thing. And I don't mind the cold. So those are other like weather conditions and blindness and like too much sunlight. Yeah, so summer is not for me.
Yeah.
So that's like I think one of the best things.
However, I did know. So summer in New Orleans, no thank you. But summer in New Orleans in the middle of the night is not so bad. It's still quite hot, but it's like terrible hot. Like, and we're talking like 2 a.m., okay? And there we started noticing tour guides. This was like about a decade ago. We started noticing tour guides. Actually, some of them were offering tours in the middle of the night, and they would do like, your scarier vampire themed tours or whatever. Haunted tours. But they did it because it was just too freaking hot.
Exactly. And they do the House of Lavaux and all that kind of stuff, right?
So what would happen is we would go to Café du Monde in the French Quarter at 2 in the morning. Because we both have insomnia. We just discussed this issue, right? And we would go and we would just hang out, right? Because nobody shows up to the French Quarter till at least 6 or 7 a.m., especially in the summertime. And so there we are. We're sitting there, Café du Monde. It's like, I don't know, 2:30. And we're like, what is that a tour guide? Is that somebody holding a placard sign at 2:30 in the freaking morning on a Tuesday? And I went up. I like literally like, watch my coffee. I'm gonna go find out what they're doing. And I went up because we're from the deep south, so we're used to talking to strangers. And I'm like, "Hi, are you a tour guide?" She's like, "Yes, I am." "Are you one of the people?" And I'm like, "No, but I really wondered who is holding a placard in the middle of the night." She's like, "I have had a group contact me because I'm only doing during the summer. I've decided life is too short." This was a lady in her 50s. She's like, "I decided life is too short, and I'm not doing summer daytime tours ever again. You cannot pay me enough." She's like, "Well, I take $1 million." And I'm like, "Yeah, nobody's paying you $1 million for that." She's like, "Exactly." And she's like, "So I do middle of the night tours." And I'm like, "And somebody wanted to do this on a Tuesday." And she's like, "Oh yeah, I am expecting 8 to 12 people because you pay a set price total and you can have up to 12 people show up." But they said they had 8 people confirmed. And so she's like, and it's a walking tour through the French Quarter, and it was like a haunted tour kind of thing. And I'm like, "Oh my God. So are they late?" She's like, "Oh no, I'm here early just in case." we're going to leave it this time. And I'm like, well, I'm going to sit over there at the Cafe Du Monde. I'm just going to watch you if you want to come. She's like, you know what? I would not mind a coffee right now. And she came and sat with us with her placard up on one of the chairs. And we chatted with her a little bit. And then she's like, okay, I think I see somebody sitting where I told them to. Let me go over there. And then, they all gathered. There were 11 people who showed up at 3 a.m. to do a haunted tour for 2 hours. I thought that was amazing.
Dude, not even Budapest had that night activity. There were no
all the time.
Yeah, there were pub crawls and like bar tours and bachelor parties and that kind of stuff at night. But I think that was it. But yeah, I mean, there were some 24-hour zones in Budapest, and I was so thankful for that. There were night transportation systems. Where I am right now, no, that doesn't exist. So I basically have to stare up at the ceiling if I wake up at 2 a.m.
Yeah, most places there's not 24-hour bus service or any kind of public transportation.
Mm-hmm. So like what I'm thinking now, especially because pandemic, and I'm okay with being isolated. Before my dog walker days, I was pretty much isolated as well. So this pandemic thing is nothing new for me. I'm doing quite well actually, but I when it comes to like job applications, I never had any assistance. Like Laura said in the comments that she basically had to do everything on her own.
Right.
And I have a visual impairment. I don't see. Like, I don't see company logos. I don't see things on the newspaper somewhere. I don't even know what companies are out there to go and search and look and send a resume. I don't even know the names. Like, how do you find them?
You mean, how do you find like places to apply to?
Yeah. I mean, I don't see company names. I don't see, like, I know the big names, like the big corporation. Who hasn't heard about, say in the US, who hasn't heard about FedEx, UPS, and Amazon and Google, and like the big names. Cool. But like local little companies where you could apply to, I don't even know who's here.
I really don't know what's available in Argentina. Like in America, like every state has a job service. Where local companies can advertise for free, and they can get, essentially it funnels people who are interested, and you can set qualification limits. Like they need to at least have a high school diploma, or some don't need to have a high school diploma, but instead need welding certification. That sort of, and they funnel them to there, as well as they advertise in classified ads in newspapers, which are now online. But I really don't know what's available in your country.
Of course.
Because I imagine part of the, okay, so I'll just say this real quick, and then I figured we'd go and do a 10-minute timer, and then we'll come back. But like when we lived in the Philippines, we noticed this kind of odd mixture of cutting edge technology and very older technology. So, for instance, we did have the option to buy a brand spanking new kerosene toaster because electricity was not available throughout the country, but you could have, the kerosene canisters and you could hook it up to your toaster oven. And so you could have the toaster work even if you don't have electricity. And so that's what I mean about like this really interesting mix of like this brand spanking new toaster works on kerosene, y'all. And so I can imagine Argentina may be in a similar situation where, maybe some city centers have fiber, have access to, fast speed internet, but the vast majority of the rural areas do not. And so it's this sort of odd blend of more traditional ways of finding employment, as well as the brand spanking new, most modern methods. And that's where it's like essentially a transitional growing pain situation.
Yeah, like if you're in Buenos Aires, which is like a huge metropole, that's like,
right.
It's the New York of the South.
Yes, exactly.
Let's just put it that way. It's just the New York of the South, so it's basically Manhattan. But if you're not in Buenos Aires, what the hell do you do?
It's just like crickets. It's just
not crickets, but it depends on what do you want to work on,
Yeah, I've heard that they're trying to get internet to various other areas of Argentina, mostly, oddly enough, from reading wine news. But anyway, that's something entirely different. Life's kind of
Yeah.
funny. Yeah, in the Patagonia area. But anyhow,
Hello.
I'm always fascinated with geopolitical. Anyway, yes, I could have gotten a degree in poli-sci. But anyhow, so how about we do a 10-minute timer, and then we'll come back and we'll start discussing various little things. Like, did you know that like every dentist we've ever known, which are dozens now, have all had a Sculpey addiction? They all have a little molding clay or paper clay, and they will make you name it in it, including whole cities. It's just something that dentists apparently like to do. So we're going to discuss that when we come back. All right, so you'd think after all the times that I have shared screen, I would remember exactly what I was doing. And you would be not entirely right. Okay.
Ooh, that's a pretty background.
Yeah, it's one from Camille. Let's see. Okay, so are we ready? Are we ready? No? Yes? I can't see
Yes.
anybody. Okay. Can you see? Okay. 3, 2, 1, sprint. Well, hello.
Hello.
Why, yes, I entirely did lose track of time. Thank you for asking. I'm like, how does time work? I don't know. All right. Did anyone do anything?
So what I did is I opened up my document that I was working on, and I got a template for a paperback from Kindle or Amazon, whatever. But then I realized that in the template, it has like spacing after a paragraph.
Mhm.
But my other two books that I have don't have spacing after paragraphs. I'm just wondering, should I be having a space after my paragraph? And it's not like a whole, like, it's like a 0.14 space. That's what it has it set up in the template.
So it's not
Like,
a
is
carriage
it-
return. It's, it's like a whole.
Yeah, so like if I'm typing blah, 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 and then I hit return to start a new paragraph, it's a 0.14.
I wonder why. Are they doing that based on feedback or something?
I don't know. Like I got like there's a zip folder on Amazon if you go into your back office or whatever, a zip file of like 20 different languages, like every language, like 20 different languages. And then there's a formatted, it's already formatted for you depending on like the size. If you give it like 8.5 by 11 or 12 by 12 or like a 9 by 6 or a kid's paperback book or whatever. But it already has like the margins set up for you and then the spacing. But I didn't know that the spacing was a thing. Like, I don't know. I didn't think that there was spaces in between paragraphs in paperback books. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm like, when have I seen a space between paragraphs in a paperback book? But I don't.
Yeah, it says, so above the paragraph, it's none, but below the paragraph, it's 0.14. Which is weird, I thought. But
No, that's a regular.
I don't know.
Look.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't. I don't like. I have a lot of books on my shelf, but honestly, they're like from self-published authors. So
now, I mean, some of these do have spaces. Let me just. Who are we kidding, Glory? Okay. There are some spaces in paragraphs, but they're trying to do it for effect to show, separate, I guess, like thoughts or something.
Like a separate thought or a separate scene? Or
well, this is from this year you write your novel.
Okay. Like in this book right here.
Oh yeah, like let me get out of solo. I don't want people to look at me. Oh wait, I do have it. Well, no, that is. I was
this
like,
book right here. There's no spaces in between paragraphs, and it's a YA book. So I don't know if it's like per genre it's different or.
It is. I think it's more.
The reason
I think it's more stylistic choice.
Okay. So the reason I was going to use a template is because I don't have Microsoft Word to format my stuff. Okay. I use what is it? Well, I did try their Kindle Create program, but every time I used the Kindle Create program, there was like formatting issues all the time. It didn't like spacing was off, or there's a return in the middle of a sentence, or like the page numbers were off. So then I was like, maybe this time I'll just like do it myself, but
96.
But like, I always have issues with like formatting the header. Putting your like your author name and the name of the book, and then the page numbers are always hard for me to do. I don't know why.
Yeah, scene breaks are different. So this is from the anthology called Black Pulp.
Okay.
And that was.
There's none there.
See, they've got a break here, and this is in the same short story.
Okay. Yeah. See, I've done like in a longer chapter. There's a.
Excellent. From an independent publisher. Highly recommend.
Like in a longer chapter, I've done a scene break where there's like 3 like stars or a symbol when it's a longer chapter and it's a new scene in the longer chapter, or they just change locations in a longer chapter or something. But yeah, I was just seeing that. But I have one other self-published book around here that they have a return in between. They have a space in between.
You know, having a break for scene breaks. That makes sense. But yeah. That's what Maggie said. Maggie would know.
Yay, that is excellent.
You know, Maggie
I was using Google Docs to write, but then I've lost words on Google Docs when it didn't save or when it crashed, and then it lags when it's more than like 50,000 words, and you know most books are more than 50,000 words. So I use Scrivener like outline and stuff, but I've been moving it over to LibreOffice, and so I used a template from Amazon in LibreOffice that already had. I mean, I can change it so there's no space after the paragraphs because I use a lot of dialogue in my book. So like if there's a lot of like 1-line or 2-line dialogue, you know, back and forth 15 characters, that's a lot of space on the page, which will make it longer. You know what I mean? So yep. I don't know.
Doll, did you do anything during the break?
Yes, I got feedback on the weekend for some of my for the first 2 chapters of my sci-fi novel that I'm querying, and the feedback was overwhelmingly positive. To be very honest, it made me cry and smile all at once, and my face hurt for like 2 hours. But of course there were also suggestions and a casual typo because me blind, and and I appreciate it immensely when people say, hey, like there is a typo in page whatever, like you wrote this and it's supposed to be that, and I'm like, oh, okay, let me fix that. So I actually appreciate it. I never take it like ugh, you know. I never take it that way. I appreciate every single piece of feedback that comes my way. So I was fixing the one line that I think I was just playing around with the prose. So I was like moving a sentence around, and then it got repeated because I forgot to delete it in the second. Yeah, I got an echo sentence, and I was like, ooh, delete that. So I did that, and I got a suggestion that I had a lot of thoughts, like inner thoughts. So I had a lot of italics going on. And not a lot, but like it could be too much sometimes. So instead, I got the suggestion of applying a little bit of indirect speech, which I had before. It's just that I was like, okay, maybe just make it inner monologue because it's more popular, or I don't know, word choice, blah, 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 blah. And then, then I'm back again trying to reinstall my indirect speech into my novel, and that's what I did for 10 minutes.
Very nice.
I didn't delete all the inner thoughts, just to balance it out a little bit.
You don't want to swing it entirely the other way.
No, because indirect speech it's different. So I got accused of being too telling, and I was like, no. So yeah, balance is key. Yes. So that's what I was doing for 10 minutes. I'm so thankful for, like, okay, the story with this, I'm making it into a YouTube video. So it's coming into a YouTube video with all the details and all the crying and all the stuff. But like, this person lives on the other side of the world. This person is somewhere in Asia. I'm of course not disclosing anything about the person because I respect, you know, but like the person is like somewhere in the Asian continent. I'm over here in Argentina. Like we're like more than 12 hours away.
Right.
Or something like that. I'm not so sure how many hours in truth, but so many hours away. And this person read the 2 chapters in a matter of hours. I send it like those are longer chapters, like 4K ish, like 3K 4K ish chapters, and this person read it in less than 4 hours time.
Nice.
Like I was so taken aback. Of course it made me cry. The person said that they want to read the book, they want to see it published, and I was like
That's a good sign.
Yeah, I hope literary agents take it, but again, it's science fiction. It's hard to sell. Nobody really wants sci-fi. It is quote unquote so niche, and I'm over here like, okay, so yeah.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it's not exactly that people don't want to buy sci-fi. It's just that there used to be dozens, hundreds of science fiction publishers 40, 50, 60 years ago, and they've all disappeared for a variety of reasons, but mostly in the American market due to an American tax law change that took effect in 1982. That was essentially the death of mid-level writers. So all of those publishing companies are gone. They've either been bought by the big four now, since there's not five, there's only four. And they were either bought out, which that was the majority of them. Some of them just retired. You know, the person who was running it really didn't find anyone to buy it. And so they just closed shop eventually after, 30, 40 years. And then, yeah, there were some who went out of business, although most of those had to do with problems. So, with drugs, which is the death of a lot of small businesses, I'm just going to say. So, but the big four have never been heavily interested in science fiction and fantasy. Now that those books haven't sold, it's just that they consider it lowbrow, and there's a prestige thing that they attach to their publishing house name. Versus mid-level publishers were always like, "Oh, I'm just here to sell pulp. What you got?" I mean, like, truly, I miss DAW publishing so much. Like, it used to be that I would read at least 25% of everything they ever published because I just loved all of their choice in books. But they sold out to Penguin when the owner was ready to retire, and that was the end of DAW. DAW was around for 30, 40 years. So it's just it's just more like it's the market. It's not that there's not readers. Oh, there are so many readers.
There are readers. Like the situation with this person in Asia was a clear show that, hey, readers exist.
Oh, yeah.
Because this person showed up out of the blue under there's Reedsy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They make videos. Like Shaylin works a lot with Reedsy. So there was one of those old videos where I left a comment where I talked a little bit about my story because the video was about nothing is original, everything has been done under the sun, blah 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 blah, don't even try. And I'm over here like, well, I wish I could find a book that I could comp my story to. And I haven't found one. So I guess there isn't really a story like mine. I mean, and that's problematic because that's why nobody takes me, because there's no comp. Oops.
Yeah, but I mean, there is a phrase: if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always had. Yeah. And there are a lot of people who consider that, their motto for how they run their business, and that's a problem.
It is a problem, and now they're trying to sell this idea to all the writers out there that nothing is original, everything has been done, you will never be anything special, blah, 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 your stories are all the same, and you just have to twist it in your own unique way. And I'm like, I mean, it's not that we have an influx of blind protagonists, so that's a start.
Nice.
So yeah, I just left a comment under that video, but that was a year ago. I mean, or more. It was what? It was way long ago, December 2019, I think it was. And
I mean, that was what, solid 14 years ago now, I think.
Yeah.
Feels like it.
Yeah. So out of the blue, this person replies to my comment like, "Hey, I'm interested in that story. Can I read it? Do you have it somewhere?" I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Oh, no. Readers are voracious.
Readers are everywhere.
They are so hungry. They are starved. There's so few publishers, traditional publishers now, that they are getting starved for new and exciting content. And that's, I think, really why indie publishing has taken off, as well as, hello, cat attack. It's, the gatekeeping. It's a time for the gatekeeping to end. Or at least this level of gatekeeping. And that's what's not so nice about indie publishing is that's one less gatekeeper to have to worry about. I do not have to worry about my stories being interpreted by a publishing company I can go direct to the reader and say, here you go. If you're interested, here you go.
Yeah, I can go to the reader if I can afford an editor. Oops.
Well, I mean, I hate to break it to you, but it turns out now traditional publishing isn't necessarily providing the editors that they once did. I've heard some stories recently that are like, I'm sorry, what is going on with traditional publishing other than a hot mess? Anyway. Okay, so anyway, let's go on. Charlie said, I learned how to use a new feature in Plotter and noticed how much it was improving my outline. So I am revisiting that thing that I call my outline to bring it up to standard.
Awesome.
That's awesome. And Eva, I know, chatted with Tom about all sorts of vaccine-related issues. Tom and I just got our first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine on Thursday. And that's pretty much why I've been mostly out of commission since then. Like, we kind of had heard, and I normally have a reaction to flu shots anyway. So I was already expecting to have a bit of reaction. But like, I got a rash on my chest and of course on the site, and my feet were swelling up pretty much. Like, I mean, like, not like edema levels, but like I felt it. They felt itchy and uncomfortable from time to time. And so Tom was talking to Eva about symptoms. And was that everybody? So what did I do? I did nothing, y'all. I don't know. I had an ADHD moment and I wandered around mentally and I looked at things. Well, I don't know where time went. Time does not move the same way for me as it does for you mere mortals. So, meh. But anyhow, are you saying something, Tom?
No.
Okay, I was wondering if it was just me. Tom, you're not muted, but I could see your mouth was moving and I could hear you from down the hall, but I couldn't make out what you were saying even down the hall, honestly.
Sing us a song, Tom. See if we can hear you.
Sing us the song of your people.
Nothing.
Might
we can't read lips.
Technical issues.
Technical Tom.
Wait, his name on screen says Tom Tech Producer, and the tech producer is having technical problems. Does anybody see a problem with this?
We are talking about Tom's narrative right here.
It's hilarious, but
I can't tell you how many computers he's murdered. Oh, tell us about the overclocking in the early 2000s, Tom.
Oh boy.
Okay, so Tom is working on his. I'm so sorry, Tom. I don't know what happened. Did you try unplugging the microphone and plugging it back in?
Push. If all else fails, just restart it. Like, turn it off.
Check it. No, did you try checking the StreamYard configuration thing?
Like, what do you mean? Oh,
the settings.
Yes, he says yes with his face. He says yes.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. So you already checked that, because sometimes out of the blue, StreamYard just switches back to like another microphone that you don't have plugged. That has happened to me.
Well,
and he'll be back.
He will show back at some magical moment, which is a shame because I was literally about to hand it over to him. So the job counseling episode idea was Tom's, and
I love the idea
because we have just come across. So I'm just going to tell you like the things that come off the top of my head. I know that Tom sent us in the private chat like his incredibly thorough list. Can we hear you now?
Yeah, you should be able to.
Yes.
I can hear you. Yay.
All right, Tom, I wanted to ask you a question. We need to ask you now. It's like an hour and 20 into this, and I'm just now asking. Do you want to run this part of the show, or do you want me to do it?
Yay!
I don't care that
I don't
much.
either. What are we going to do? This lack of,
All right, here, let me start up a few things, and then we'll...
Okay.
But what I was originally trying to talk about and say was actually, it seems like Daw Books may have gotten back into at least semi-ownership by the daughter of the original couple.
Pulling up my phone literally now on camera.
You can now submit directly to them.
Ooh, maybe they'll finally start putting out books I like again.
Like they're still under Penguin's website, but also there's dawbooks.com, and they have you could submit directly to us or through your through your agent if you have one.
Well, I'm gonna have to pay attention to their upcoming catalog of what they're putting out because their books make me happy.
I'm gonna look at their catalog to see if what I'm writing has anything to do with what they want to publish. And
they want own voices, from non-regular people.
Just non-regular.
Specifically, they want.
I need to know what is non-regular.
Wait,
they
what?
want something that's not white men.
Is it irregular?
Anything that's not white men, sci-fi and fantasy.
Right quick, that you think white men is regular? I'm just saying, Tom. Let's acknowledge the majority of the world is not white men.
Yeah, I know that, and yet way too much of the published books and TV personalities are.
Well, I am anything but a white man.
Look at Ava's last comment there. I thought she was kept on saying doll books too. Like,
oh, doll books.
I thought that's what you guys are saying.
It's
this
a
whole
hard
time.
word in the English language, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
doll and daw, like depending on your accent and your dialectical, influences, will influence how you pronounce D-A-W.
Well, that's a sign. So.
Yes, there you go. Are the signs there, doll, that you should try to submit to? I don't have no idea.
Yeah, they are taking without agents submissions.
That's nice.
Now, how
So
safe
apparently
is
they are really looking for sci-fi fantasy.
Yeah, okay, but how safe is that for an author that doesn't live in America?
Well, you can get someone after the case, for helping with negotiations.
Okay.
And
So, do you think it's easier to get an agent if like I have an offer from this publisher here?
Yes.
That is everything I've ever been told about literary agents. It's great if you can get one before getting a publisher, but it's way easy to find one after you get a publisher.
I'm gonna try. This is the reason. This is the reason why I haven't tried smaller publishers yet. Fear of, oh no, I just don't have an agent. How safe is this? Well, I think it's over. I'm gonna try everywhere. The world is gonna hear from me. I mean, okay, if they're really looking for sci-fi and fantasy, I'ma try.
You can always
I've
turn
been
them down. Just because you submit to them doesn't mean you have to accept their offer. You are not contractually obligated till you have a contract you've signed.
Cool.
That is at least how American contract law goes. Fun fact, if I was going to be a lawyer, that's the law I would have gone into. My mother wanted me to be a lawyer. So.
Nice.
Okay. So.
Yeah.
Just a fun fact for all the sci-fi fantasy writers out there. Doll Books is back running again. Okay. So Tom.
So Glory.
What you want to talk about? We're an hour and a half in. Now let's really talk about counseling. Oh God, it's such an ADD, ADHD stream today. Okay.
So to give you an idea.
Yes. Tom with the visual presentations.
Someone needs to.
All right.
But to give you an idea of there's a lot of ones that we have built up some interesting associations of this type of person has this stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
Where should we start?
I don't know. I think at a certain point, I'm just going to go with Lewis Carroll on this of start at the beginning, and when you get to the end, stop.
Well, should we start with teachers because we both thought a lot about going into education?
Excuse me, sir. I was a teacher. Excuse me, sir. I was a licensed quote on my license, it said a highly trained professional educator.
Mm.
I earned that, baby.
You did.
Okay. So what do you want to talk about that? Like, what do you want to say?
What are the stereotypes of teachers?
Okay, they really do like putting up those bulletin boards. That part is true. And I have to admit, I wasn't into it when I first went into the education program. But by the time I was done, I was like, yeah, let me just staple paper to walls. It is way too much fun, I have to admit. And also, for some reason, children really love decorated bulletin boards. I do not know what this is about, but they are really into it. So my job as a new teacher was, because all the other teachers were like, I've been doing bulletin boards for decades. It's your turn, young'un. And so my job as the new teacher was I had to go do the bulletin board more than any other of the teachers. And the kids would always be excited on new bulletin board day. Because it was like I was in charge of several bulletin boards. And as they'd walk by, for like lunch or whatever, they would very much want to see what is the new theme of this month's bulletin board. And they loved Easter eggs. So I would keep putting in new Easter eggs all month long to keep them interested in going over the bulletin boards. And they absolutely loved finding all these little visual Easter eggs. So yeah, it really helps to be into the die cuts.
And the junior version of that is posters. Do you like making posters?
You know, like if you are into making poster boards of anything, even just I love One Direction. Yeah, like, you know, you're ideal for K6, for kindergarten through 6th grade. I do not know what is the equivalent in other countries, but I'm going to say primary school. Let's say primary school, because that's probably the younger set of elementary age kids. But yeah, kids love those visuals as something new to look at, because, you know, let's be honest, schools are really boring. I'm going to just say it. Let's see, what else about teachers? Oh, well, should I admit the thing about teachers drink? Like, even the teachers who seem to be teetotalers, like, and they come from a family that hasn't drunk in 100 years, and yet these teachers, when they go to conferences, will definitely have a little bottle in their bag. Of like, this is essentially a coping mechanism. I'm not saying it's like the best self-medication, but it is how a lot of adults cope with some really difficult moments. I mean, as a teacher, you have to be prepared for an incredible amount of dramas. The lives of children are incredibly dramatic and often heartbreaking. Sometimes they're heartwarming. In fact, a lot of the times they're heartwarming, but then the heartbreaking parts are like, will destroy you emotionally. So the way many people cope is not a lot of drinking, but frequent drinking. And I don't mean like while teaching. I mean like, you know, after school. I mean on the weekends of they just need to relax. It's not like, but yeah, pretty much every party that's just teachers. Oh, there's like the most well-stocked bar you've ever seen in real life.
And there's a lot of opinions about wine.
Yes. Oh my God. So many opinions about wine. So many box wines at one party. But yeah, like librarianship in library land, there's not that much alcohol. There's actually far more
promiscuity.
Sexuality. Let's just promiscuity. Yeah, there is more promiscuity. And surprisingly very little alcohol. Versus in teacher land, it's a credible amount of casual, you know, off time drinking and very little promiscuity. So I just thought that was really kind of interesting, because teachers and librarians sort of like to party together, and yet when they party together like a house party of just teachers and librarians, all the teachers are in the kitchen making up various cocktails for each other. Or to wine tastings, and all the librarians are, well, not all, but a lot of the librarians are in various closets throughout the house, literally with other people. So it's just a little side note.
There were at one point a whole lot of Polaroid pictures. These are all based on real life experiences.
Yes, these are all actually based on real life experiences. So Let's see, what else about teachers? So I'll tell you, if you want to be a successful teacher, you have to genuinely enjoy the company of children.
Yes.
Because children are very serious creatures. Children are actually very serious about their life. They take their lives very seriously. And so you as an adult need to take them seriously, that their daily concerns are serious concerns, not, oh, hello, you little 8-year-old with your little problem. No, that is not, the children pick up on it real fast. So you need to take them seriously, but also you need to have an easy time loving them. If you don't find that you love children easily, teaching is not for you. Because love makes good teachers great, and it makes bad teachers passable. Love allows you as the teacher to see the feedback from that student that your method of teaching is not getting through to them. And love gives you this opportunity to quickly pivot to another approach to try to reach that student. Love will keep you open and flexible, whereas a lot of other mental and emotional standpoints don't lend that. So you need to be able to enjoy the company of children. Also, fun fact, because children are such serious creatures, they will very seriously give you advice on your life. And you need to very seriously listen to them, even if you're like, I don't think that works that way. I mean, you can say that. You should be honest with kids. But be prepared to get a whole heck of a lot of advice from little children.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you need to take them seriously when they're like, well, what you need to do is you need to make him a meal and then he'll be happier. And I'm like, I will give that a try. Thank you for your advice. And you need to be sincere about that. But like, be prepared. You're going to get so much life advice.
Yes.
Little life counselors, life coaches. And you need to be okay with that. Versus I've seen a lot of adults who actually were pretty good about teaching. They loved children, you know, watching them grow up, but they were like, why should I listen to this little imp? Like, no, not the good role to take. No.
Yeah.
Let's see. Maggie says, my sister-in-law is a speech pathologist / teacher, the second trimester of remote learning. She posted a picture of her laptop showing 3 student Zoom calls waiting, a bottle of tequila with a shot poured at 11 a.m. Amen. That's how you know that you are.
No. Continue.
And the caption that she wasn't going to make it all. Yeah. So I'll say, like, if you enjoy the company of children in a non-creepy way, because I have weeded out a lot of creeps, both individually and as an entire university department. We've weeded out a lot of creeps. Sometime I'll tell y'all some stories from the war zone. But
save it for Halloween creepy horror shows.
For real, we'll just call the whole thing trigger warning.
Oh my god.
Yes, we did. Most of those were at the high school level, by the way. I am not a high school teacher, although I am qualified to be a high school reading teacher, since I'm a qualified reading specialist, which means reading diagnostic specialist. So, but anyhow, if you enjoy the company of children and you find it easy to love a huge variety of children, even problematic kids, then you are not opposed to die cutting an incredible amount of paper. Like, so this is what you do in your free time. Although you cannot drink while you're die cutting or you will lose a fingertip. There are so many teachers who could show you this little fingertip they're missing from drinking while die cutting.
So to understand how serious this is, quick aside, one of the benefits and the reason why people who went to Glory's particular school, university, for getting a teaching degree, to maintain their alumni status and pay for the yearly, what was it, $40 or something?
Back then it was actually $30, but I think they've raised it to $50 now.
Is that the university, specifically the library, has a room with the literal most complete,
the largest Ellison die cut collection in the world, larger than the Ellison die cut company's collection of die cuts.
Yeah, Ellison occasionally actually requests a few to make
when they
a new version of
track of their model. They'll ask my university to mail one of theirs back so they can like make a new, and then so yeah, there were teachers who moved away 500 miles, and every summer they would take a trip back for a week, just with like literally a carload of colored paper just to work the Ellison die cut machines for a week so they would have enough die cuts for the whole year.
Because you got to put it up around the room. You got to make all those posters.
You got to put the kids' names on everything, and every month they have to change because children love to decorate for holidays, and every month has a holiday. And if they don't, the kids get disappointed, and you end up making up holidays. True story. And children love holidays, and you want them to be happy because childhood is actually kind of hard. So you're doing a lot of die cuts. Anyway,
I have a notorious disability, which means you know how children are. What happened in your eyes? Why do they look weird? Like, what happened to your eyes? Like, can you fix them? Can you cure it? Can you put it better? Like, what happened? And after a while, I'm like, no, I'm not in the mood for this. Some children are genuinely asking because they have never seen eyes like that. Some do it for bullying and to laugh at you.
Yeah.
So I think I had enough of that in my life. Thank you. So no, I'm not a teacher for that same reason, and I always knew that. So it would be selfish from me to even try to be a teacher just because I speak 2 languages. Because people are always like, I'm a woman, right? The stereotype is, oh, she's a woman. Oh, and she's disabled. Oh, she's this little kind, blind sweetheart, And I'm over here like, okay, why don't you try? I mean, you speak English and Spanish. Like, why don't you try an Italian, by the way? Oh, yeah, I forgot. Like, but why don't you try, like, being a teacher? And I'm over here like, do you know what I think of children sometimes? No.
And I mean, it really just depends on the person. I know I certainly got some pressure from kids about the way I wrote my Z's. And this is when I was teaching, and I'm like, look, you write your stuff the way you want to. I'm going to write how I want to. You know what this is. This is a Z. I just wrote it the way the Postal Service said to write them, which means there's a line in the middle, a horizontal line. And that's how, at the time, the Postal Service machine liked it. Because otherwise it had a hard time reading Z's. It tended to misread them as a variety of other letters and numbers for some reason, particularly 2s. The Postal Service machine in the 90s would read a capital Z or even a lowercase z as a number 2. So, and the kids were like, oh, but you need to write this. I'm like, look, I'm going to write it the way I write it. You're allowed to write it your way. As long as I know what letter this is, we're both copacetic here. But like that has to do more with classroom management, which is teachable. You can teach people about classroom management. But I understand that not everybody has a temperament for dealing with children and all their little things every day. Because, I mean, recess drama is real. It's not just among the children. Sometimes it's among the adults, but that's a whole nother problem.
Oh, yeah.
But like just that of like, there's just certain temperaments that work well in the teaching environment. And if you don't have it, I highly recommend that you never get into it because you will be miserable and then you will make everyone else miserable. And that is the whole point of this episode. So, shall we
go on to librarian? Since we talked about, how they tend to party together.
Yeah, teachers and librarians like to party together. Not quite sure
Really?
why. Oh, gosh, yes. Yes, like even in real life. Like you tend to go to a house party that's hosted by a teacher. You're going to find a whole heck of a lot of both school and other kinds of librarians. So you'll find school librarians, you'll find public librarians, you'll find university or academic librarians there. It's just teachers tend to attract librarians and librarians tend to attract teachers. And I'm not sure why, other than both jobs make you pause a lot of like.
And wonder about general human intelligence.
Humanity. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay. So number one problem with Libraryland is a lot of people who went in to be a librarian, the reason they went in, their number one reason is, I like books. Librarianship has nothing to do with books, people.
Mm-hmm.
If you love
Not a
books,
bit.
I promise you that you will be miserable as a librarian. Please do not go into librarianship if you love books, because the one thing you're never going to get to do and enjoy is books. You're going to see the horrible things people do to books. They do some real crimes.
Mm-hmm.
you're going to see, like, people have, all humans apparently seem to have like a love-hate relationship with books. I don't even understand it. But what librarianship actually is you are curating information for the end user. So what you really are is an information technology, like, I don't want to say custodian, almost like a guide. Yeah. You're guiding.
Right. It's like a tour guide for books.
Yes.
You are guiding the end user to the information they are in search of, which means you need to understand the basic area of the information they're looking for. No librarian needs to know every bit of information. They need to know where to find it. That is the difference between people who love books and people who are really good librarians. Is you don't have to know the information. You just have to know where to find it. So, because what you are really doing is you are managing information for end users, for readers, for people in search of technology or information. That is what you are doing, is you're like a guide. And to a certain degree, you're also curating it to help people find what they're looking for faster, because people like to feel independent. So that's where the curation of information comes in. So, but you have to really enjoy listening to people talk around a bush 3 or 4 times before they finally get to the heart of the information they're actually looking for.
Right. Not everyone is straightforward and to the point.
You need to be a patient listener, and that includes in emails. You need to be very patient and compassionate about that. Oftentimes, in fact, the end user, and I'm talking about professionals too, because there are medical librarians, for instance. Even professionals, fellow professionals, will just like go around and around, and you have to essentially ask searching questions of them. Because you're essentially trying to do a bounce. You know how like echolocation works, where you're bouncing a sound off to like understand where's the opening. You will do this in a questioning way to like, are you looking for this or this? Are you looking for this or this? As you narrow it down, sort of like if you go to the optometrist or the ophthalmologist and they're like doing the lenses thing. How about this or this? This. It's sort of like that, only with questions. And yes, I happen to agree. Librarians are demon saints that herd villainous research cats like me. I mean, you're not wrong. I say that as a former librarian. Maggie says, I loved working as a library aide because I like organizing beyond books, but I got annoyed AF when I found books people had picked up in one place and then stuck on a random shelf somewhere else. Fun fact, a lot of people do that. So that
I mean, they do it with everything. They do it with everything. They do it at libraries. They do it at the supermarket. They do it at clothing
you're
stores.
Not wrong. Librarians are sexy brunettes with glasses. I mean, some anyway. You know, maybe some more. maybe a little bit. But
no.
But yeah, I actually have like a whole like sort of middle grade story idea about the secret world of librarians, where there's armories under libraries, and there's like a whole secret society and everything. And I had that idea before I became a librarian, which I thought was like, ooh, finally,
I want to read this.
Research, you know, like me as a writer.
Where can I read this?
Okay, I guess I need to at least work on an outline. Although I'll be happy to tell you about it backstage, doll, if you want me to recount some stories to think about.
Nice.
Some of them are based on true.
I have a question for you guys, because you guys are so knowledgeable. As a child, and I already gave up on this dream because I have a disability and we know how the world is. Yes. But as a child, I wanted to be an astronaut. No wonder with that freaking avatar that I have now. What would be like the temperance and the skills and the requirements, apart from all the degrees and the training that you need for astronaut kind of job? I know I can't because I don't have good vision, and I know that's a requirement. I know. I'm just curious, what else is impairing?
You know, I actually have a theory that in probably less time than we expect. So I would say in a few decades, if not at least within 100 years, vision will not necessarily be even a requisite for working in space, or at least working in orbit. That is my personal theory based on what I know about what astronauts and space workers are currently doing.
So do you think that when I am 80 years old, I could work in space?
There is a very real possibility that
when I'm 80? When I'm a grandma?
The other problem, though, I do see for you is astronauts, because there's so little turnover, have to be fairly jovial. You have to be able to just get along with people.
Okay.
Because they don't change out people that much. So you have to be able to just go like, that's them.
You know, the human equivalent of golden retrievers.
Yeah.
They get along with everybody, and they've never met a person they didn't get along with in some level. Even if they didn't necessarily respect that person, they could get along with them. Also, I could really see where eventually being older as a space worker would be advantageous, because there is an issue with space herpes.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. Space herpes is real, and everyone who's ever been to space has space herpes, and they do not know why or how. They're still trying to figure this out, y'all. I wish I were kidding. This is crap out of like sci-fi, which I love, but I also feel bad that people come back with space herpes. So
that's a tip I didn't know.
So I can absolutely being older would be advantageous, because then you're not worried about having herpes. You're all, you have like, if you're 80, you've only got 20 to 40, maybe 50 years left. So you're not as worried about the effects of space herpes as if you are in your 20s or 30s.
Also, the older you get, the less crap you give about people in general. You become this kind of let them be kind of person.
But like one of the temperament requirements to enjoy work in space is to be endlessly curious. Again, not unlike a golden retriever. They make the ideal space employees. I'm just saying.
So I am kind of getting there somewhere.
Yeah, of like endlessly curious. And this is what I've heard from people I know who've worked with astronauts, because I really enjoy the company of engineers, and engineers get to work with astronauts.
Dude,
often.
Engineers are awesome.
Yes. And one of the things they remark on is that everybody they've ever known who's gone to space are just endlessly curious, like a child, like just this pure, beautiful, gentle curiosity. It's not like a hardcore curiosity, like I must know and you must tell me now, but just I wonder what that does. So that's why like so many things have to be human proof in space, because all the astronauts are like, what does that do? Oops. So yeah, you have to get along with everybody, even people that you don't necessarily respect, even people who keep, not leaving the bathroom exactly the way you would like them to. Mm-hmm. And you need to be endlessly, gently curious about everything. And also you need to be absolutely comfortable with getting space herpes.
And to give you a prime example, I think, of the curiosity level of astronauts, astronauts ended up being curious. What is out in space? What does the sun taste like? I'm not joking. So they literally took a piece of bread. So they took a piece of bread because whenever they open up the airlocks, it smells like steak, and they're just like, what the hell? So they took some bread and they put it out into space and left it there for a short time, brought it in. And when I can't remember, I believe that when the video was not on for a moment, they went, and then afterwards told ground control, hey, it really does taste like a smoky steak. Like, this is astronauts.
I'm glad that they found this out, because now I know what the sun tastes like. It tastes like a char-grilled steak.
The more you tell me, I can't wait for them to stop being gatekeeping and let me go to space.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, Maggie says creative problem solving and innate curiosity was part of the personality testing. Yes. So, I mean, That is, from what I understand. Yeah, I too was like interested in space till I found out about the eyesight issue, and I had to get glasses at the end of 3rd grade. And it was like, well, that dream's gone. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, apparently Maggie went through most of it just trying to
I
get
think it's so
into.
cool. I love that we have such a diverse group of people who come to this chat. Just to be accepted to the NASA college program, but my senior year they put me on a medication that affected my eyesight, and I lost my spot.
Oh no!
Yep.
Oh my god!
Eva wants to know if you like horses.
If I like horses?
That is
sure.
There. I don't know why Eva was asking, but there it is. So, what should we talk about now? Or have I forgotten any part of librarianship? I think that's
no. I think you've got most of it, which is like you have to enjoy talking with strangers and listening to them talk a lot longer than they should.
And to be able to winnow out what they're actually asking versus what's coming out of their mouth. So you have to
I think that's with most jobs. I think you have to try to figure out what they really are wanting.
Well,
I mean that's what I found.
Drive-through. If they say they don't want a tomato, you're not like, but do you really not want a tomato? I mean, like you just if you don't want a tomato, you don't get a tomato.
You sure you don't want a tomato on half the sandwich? Like that is the level you have to deal with in librarian.
Yeah, it's like you are very much like, are you sure that this isn't it? Like they'll tell me 3 times, I'm looking for a movie, and they're like, tell me all about who's in it, and they'll describe the movie, and I will go, like, okay, here's my little Google trick, y'all, for like old movies that you can't remember the title to. You just literally start typing in what the person is saying. It's a movie about the man and the woman, and they go to Niagara Falls, and then a murder happens on the train, whatever. And I just hit enter, and then I look at the search results, because often that's the first 10 are surprisingly useful. But they're like, no, Cary Grant's not in it. And if I show them the poster, they're like, oh yeah, then that is it. So
yeah. No, it's a
really winnow out what people mean, not what they say.
It's a special kind of patience you need. All right, so real quick, since it probably won't be as long, what I've learned and what we've learned about dentists and dental hygienists. So dental hygienists, it's real quick. I kid you not. If you want to do dental hygiene for 20 years or more and not lose your mind and have nightmares every night, you have to be someone who really enjoys popping pimples.
Like the kind of person who, when they see someone with a pimple on the back of their neck, starts following around going, let me just pop it for you. Let me just, no, I'm good. I'll put a Band-Aid on it. And then they're like, okay, you've had the Band-Aid on it for 3 hours. Let me pop it now. That level of obsessive about pimple popping. And that makes a great dental hygienist. I know you're thinking, but surely dermatologists, no. Turns out most dermatologists not into pimple popping.
Nope. Dermatologists are into perfection. They want things to be as smooth as possible. That's dermatologists.
Oh yeah, I've had several dermatologists go, so soft on me while I've paid for an appointment, and I'm like,
yeah,
why am I getting like a Buffalo Bill vibe here? Or serial killer vibe, if you will. I'm like, so soft, Glory. What do you do with it? And I'm like, are you going to hate me if I admit that I usually forget to even put on lotion for weeks at a time? And they're like, oh, this is amazing. And they'll just, so like, I used to have a mole here. And it was colored originally. Thank you, Tom. Okay, let me see. The scar starts here and it goes right there. Please, Tom. Let's exit now. I used to have a mole there, and the color started disappearing. And I started getting concerned, since they say that that's a sign. It can be a sign of something turning malignant. Because I am so fair that I'm like, the word malignant. Yeah. So I went to a dermatologist, 17, 18 years ago now. And I went to the better dermatologist in town. And I asked her if this, the mole looked like something that might be wise to remove. And she was like, I mean, I could do a biopsy, but honestly, if I'm already doing a biopsy, I might as well remove the whole thing, and then we can test it, and then we'll know from there. And I'm like, cool. You need to know I have Ehlers-Danlos, so you can't stitch me the same way. And she's like, I will do my research, and then I'll meet you back here in 2 weeks, that kind of thing. So she did the surgery in clinic, fine. She had done her research on the special stitch for Ehlers-Danlos so that it doesn't pull, which, I mean, it had minimum pulling, so I'm not upset with it. I knew I was going to get a little bit of pulling, a little bit of, what is it?
Keloid?
Keloid. Because we're prone to keloid tumors. And I knew I was going to get a little.
Yeah, let's see if you can.
Oh, yeah, that one on your palm.
Yeah.
Or not your palm, the back of your hand. Yeah, that one. So I went there. The woman is literally cutting it open. Oh, Tom. Thank you. And she's, it's hard to also anesthetize me correctly. Apparently our nerves are in none of the same places that normal people are, whatever. And so finally got anesthetized, which I still could feel the pulling. Hey there, doll.
Hi.
I could still feel the pulling, but it was fine. Anyway, I noticed as she was stitching me up and she was talking to me, she kept stroking my hand with her other fingers. Like anytime she would pull and pause, she would just go.
I remember when you came back from this appointment.
I don't think she was aware that she was doing it, but because like my hand is, out, on the surgery little platform thing. But every time she would do one of the stitches right, she would then, with her other 2 fingers, just like that, like, yes, my pet.
I believe. What was it when you came home? It's like, I am not sleeping alone tonight. Someone has to stay in the house.
Someone has to make sure that I'm not going to have an intruder, because she was really into petting my skin and going, like, who moans? But that's dermatologists. Oh yeah, I get it every time I see a dermatologist for any problem. They're like, and what kind of skin disease do you say? I was like, it's not a skin disease, but it's I don't make collagen the same way. It's Ehlers-Danlos. And they're like, let me write that down. Ooh. And they're like, my brother has a different kind, and so he has dragon skin. They're like, can he come in? I want to touch it. I have to see a dermatologist.
Yeah.
Well, that's scary.
So, yeah, dermatologists are very much into that idea of perfect skin, but also into textures. They want to touch everything. I've seen dermatologists, like I've gone in with other friends who are like, I have an abscess on my leg. Can you come with me and drive? And I'm like, no problem. They want me to come in with them. And like that dermatologist will have the glove on and like poke the abscess. Oh, look how it moves. They want to touch everything.
Yeah.
So if you have that kid who's like, I don't want to use a stick to poke the poop, I want to touch it, that kid might be a future dermatologist. Because you have to really be like, there is nothing too gross that I can't put a glove on and touch. That idea. That is a dermatologist who will lifelong enjoy their profession.
I cannot do that.
Yeah. Like I'm not
Versus,
that kind of person.
We were talking about surgeons, and they love texture as well, and they really enjoy cross stitch. Not CrossFit, cross stitch. Like they love to sew.
Like embroidery?
Oh, okay.
So they love cross stitch. And in fact, the best surgeons, men and women and non-binary people, the best surgeons are people who embroider or do cross stitch or some sort of needle and yarn work, or especially decorative. That is what they do on the side. And that's how you know that they will do a really good job on skin, on, sewing up a person, and not just superficial skin, but I mean like all the way down.
In multiple layers. Yeah,
because,
those different layers.
You have a huge variety of different stitches, and that's essentially what embroidery is. You'd be amazed how many stitches that surgeons use have either been originally developed into embroidery hundreds of years ago or are now being implemented into the embroidery culture.
Wow.
And tapestry culture. So yeah, I've known a couple surgeons who do tapestries more than embroidery or cross stitching, but essentially it's all of that sort of needle and thread work. That is the best surgeons, the ones who truly love their work. But I'm going to tell you now, don't go to a surgeon to find out how to solve your problem, because surgeons are very much that kind of person, where that phrase comes from of, to a hammer, all the world's problems are nails. Any problem you have, the surgeon's going to like, I can solve that by cutting you open and taking that out. And I'm like, no, you cannot solve PCOS entirely by
Oh God. Oh, God.
And they're like, oh, I can't. I've literally had surgeons argue with me like, no, I can't.
Yeah.
I take your ovaries. And I'm like, that literally does not solve my problem.
This is why they don't allow you to book direct appointments with surgeons.
Or at least you shouldn't.
Till after you've already talked with a regular doctor. Yeah, a regular GP or specialist of some kind. Because surgeons are just like, no, we can cut you and we can fix that.
And it's
And
like,
it's like,
no,
no.
that's literally not how it works. Oh, no, sure, it does. Like, no. Every problem cannot be solved with a scalpel and thread. No. And I have had arguments with a variety of people, surgeons, about this. And be like, let's find someone else.
Yeah. Although speaking of GPs,
that is terrifying.
It's just
Yeah.
know about them. Just be
Yeah.
prepared. It's just
Yeah.
There's a vocation for everyone in the world.
versus GP is for people who like the human body, but they also love manuals. They love repair manuals. They love machine manuals. They just like read manuals.
Yeah, they really enjoy reading a manual for everything, for the dishwasher, for the new camera, for the ice maker, for the simplest thing. They will read the manual front to back 3 times. And
If you tell them that there is instructions for how to use a match, and your doctor's response is, "Oh, can you show me?" Because they want to read what those instructions are. Not usually a very
we
good
tried
doctor.
this out, by the way, at a bunch of GPs, and
Yeah.
practitioners, family doctors, and they're like, "Wait, there's instructions on how to use a match."
What do they say?
Yeah, like what they say. Which are all brands have it, or which ones? Tell me, so I want to go read it. And I'm like, it's literally five little short sentences. Like, it's not, how to do a match. It's like, yeah, but I want to read it. Like, okay.
Yeah, that's GPs.
That's at least really good GPs. The ones who love their job for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Because ideally, that kind of makes sense. Your GP is constantly have to read about the ever-changing medical science. They're constantly having to stay up to date about a whole human body versus specialists only have to focus on one area. So it makes sense that the GP really is somebody who enjoys reading very descriptive step-by-step manuals.
Now, I have a question for you guys.
Sure.
Because you guys know a lot of things. And I want to know, because, a lot of the community that we're involved in is writers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us about that?
Oh, what makes a good writer?
What makes a good writer, or what makes a writer, period?
What makes a writer stay in the writing industry? Because it's really hard.
It is.
Oh,
you're
we have a lot of people, Camp NaNoWriMo and NaNoWriMo. They became kind of like a trendy thing to do, and everybody wants to try it because it's cool. And then, yeah. So what makes a good writer?
I have 3 things I wrote down just to make sure to start. You have to love hearing other people's stories. You have to love researching everything, as we have seen in Hearn. And you have to make and want to make other people think. Like, if that's like your favorite thing in the world to do is to tell someone something that they have to then think about before they can respond, then you'll probably enjoy being a writer.
I would also add that you want to be heard. Like, writing is, no matter what people say about, like, oh, if writing's hard, maybe you shouldn't be a writer. Blank those people. Blank those.
Everything's hard till you learn how to do it.
Everything is hard till you get a lot of experience points at it. So
as Glory loves to talk about, me and eggs.
Ooh, y'all, do you remember how many eggs Thomas murdered? I mean, and I say they were inedible. How many thousands of eggs it was. And now he makes eggs amazing, but there were a lot of egg murders going on. So it's just about experience points.
Mm-hmm.
So do not listen to the elitists who are like, oh, if writing is hard, then it's not for you. Blank them. Anyway, my point just is, if you want to be heard, for whatever the reason in your personal life, you do not feel as heard as you would like to be, and you want to be heard and known, to be somebody to have an idea of what's going on inside your head. You want somehow to leave this lasting mark of you for at least one other person. You are going to really enjoy writing. Because I don't know any writer who does it for the long haul who does not really enjoy feeling like someone else knows them a little bit better. It may just be one other reader, but they don't care. They just want another person to know them.
I mean, case in point, go look up the Twitter feeds for Diane Duane and John Scalzi. And who is it Scalzi's always playing with on Twitter? I can't remember his name, but you'll see in his Twitter feed of, you know, these two making just the worst jokes. Seriously. But they always have opinions, and they want people to understand why they have those opinions. They don't want people to just hear they have an opinion. It never stops at their opinion. It's here's why. That's a writer.
Yeah. Because, like, writing is such a long haul trouble. Like, there's always something you got to do next. You never just get to write it and be done. There's editing. There's formatting. There's promotion and marketing. There's
that's the part where I
there's
suck.
like always another thing. And if you have nothing left, then people are going to go, oh, when is something else coming out? And you're like, oh, I got to do this again. So there is a lot of trouble involved with being a writer.
I suck at marketing.
Getting something out of it.
Yeah. No marketing skills from me. I just don't have them. But other than that, everything that you said, I love to think. And I love to meet other people who like to think. And it's like, yeah, intellectualism. Woo! I love that.
Because, I mean, you can learn how to tell a story. Anyone can learn this.
Yeah.
I learned how to do it, so anyone can do this. I'm telling you now. You can learn how to tell a story, but what you have to add to that story is what the reader is really going to be interested in. Because what you have to add to it, that's your own personal flavor you're adding to it. That's what the reader is looking for. Everybody knows all these fairy tales. And yet, how many times will they read a new version of insert fairy tale here? It could be Pinocchio. It could be Cinderella. It could be Little Red Riding Hood. They will reread a whole new one just because a new person wrote it and they are curious to see that person's spin. What part of, because every writer puts a little bit of themselves in every story. And that's what the reader is actually chasing, is they are looking to connect with what makes this story unique is that writer. That's what they want to connect with. So it's a workable relationship that writers have with readers.
Interesting.
Maggie says, the need to tell the story regardless of who will read it, because there is one person that it will change their life, even if I never met them, and the need to hear the stories of others. Yes. This is why we do it. Tell me I want to be how to be a storyteller? Oh, honey, we should hang out.
No, just a writer. How to be a writer. That was back when I was
how to be a good writer. Yes. Keep writing.
Practice.
Laura, you are a great writer already.
I've read some of Laura's like shorter stories, and they are always fun. Even the scary ones was, I'm not really into scary stuff because I have this imagination that will keep me up. But even those, which I'm normally not into, I like Laura's writing voice. And that, again, is something I think appeals to or will appeal to more readers as more people find out about Laura's stories and are able to gain access to her stories. I mean, first step, get them out of your head and onto like some sort of printing format, digital or physical, something. That is step one, and it is not easy. I have dyslexia, so it's super not easy for me. It's like pulling teeth. It's so hard. But anyhow.
All right, here's one also you have plenty of experience with.
Okay.
So I had some ideas of what I thought they were. Business management /leadership.
Oh, I'm curious about this too.
You want to hear mine first, Glory? Since I know you've always got more to.
Oh, what? I'm talking.
So here's the ones that I have noticed in good business leadership / it's an easy way to test someone if they'll be a good business manager / leader. Do you like to throw parties on any budget? If you think throwing parties is exhausting, you are not management material. You are not really business material, because that's what business is. It is trying to make a lot of different people enjoy the same location, the same thing. It ain't easy. The other qualities I've noticed is you have to enjoy tracking your friends' talents. Something Glory does a lot.
I'm really great at delegation. And that's with knowing what people are really innately good at and enjoy doing.
And that's really what it takes to really be a business manager or a leader, or to run your own business, is you have to know how to delegate. If you don't enjoy delegating, if you prefer to do stuff on your own, business, not so much for you. Because it's, knowing that, hey, everyone's got their talents. Find the people who enjoy doing that. There are people like me who just enjoy editing. I do actually enjoy just reading through and how can I get this even different and better.
Yeah, Tom enjoys story development editorial a lot more than me. We do it together, but he really enjoys it versus I just don't get quite the same woohoo, I'm getting out of bed today to do this. He just loves it and would do it forever for anyone just because. And that is a difference of us. We do work together to do this for others, but it's just this is definitely more his jam than mine.
Well, that's what I did before I'd always wanted to write. Before I actually sat down to write books, I was line edits, grammar editing, proofreading for one particular author. I think I did 4 of her books, and then I was like, why don't I do it for myself? Actually write the words that are in my head out on paper. So that's when I did that. But I think it was a good starting point to say, oh, I can do this. Although I can't edit my own self worth crap. I can't edit my stuff. It's not well, because I'm staring at it for weeks, months on end. And then when it comes to edit it, I miss glorious amounts of things.
That is part of my technique for editing is I have to give whatever it is some time for me to think about it. I mean, not to think about it, to forget about it. And then I come back once I've forgotten almost everything about this and reread it with fresh eyes. And so for me, my editorial process partly requires time, just time, enough to forget between each stage.
Maggie said, I love planning parties and weddings, but I hate dealing with the people who want the party wedding to be about them instead of the person it is for. And that is actually the key difference between a successful business and a business that is doomed to fail. We've seen this so many times, because successful business is about the business and about everyone who wants to use that business. Unsuccessful, failing one is one that is just about the person who owns the business. And those people do tend to get drug problems because it's still all about them.
Yeah, they're chasing something else, but yeah. What I would add to the idea about management is, again, compassion and compassionate listening is definitely needed. And if anything, I would say required, absolutely required. Because you need to listen to everybody you're supervising or everyone who you're responsible for to make sure their needs are being met. It is not a level playing field in management. You're not treating everyone identical because people do not have identical needs.
Yeah.
You need to meet people where they are and then help them so that they can perform their best in their role, whatever their role is. So, the very good managers are people who are always trying to bridge that gap to get the best out of people but the kind of best, I mean, not where you're squeezing blood out of a turnip. That is not best. That's something else entirely. But where people really feel like they're blooming in an employment position, where they're really getting to be themselves and use their best abilities in a context where the business can utilize that. And that is where the best managers really shine. And so it's figuring out what is each person and the team need and want so that they have everything necessary to bloom, or everything that's at least possible to give them to bloom with the resources you have. Because sometimes you just don't have all the resources you need, so you just have to make do.
Hence being able to plan a party on any budget.
Right.
Like I've known people who are like, oh no, if I don't have, this much excessive resources, then I don't want to throw a party. It's like, but a party is just about the celebration.
Right.
We're just talking about how much can you add on.
Right. So, like, I have many times heard, more than a few times, unfortunately, heard managers saying, like, I just don't care what people think anymore. And I'm like, when you say that, what do you mean? Like, anyone? Or just what haters are say? Where they're like, I don't care what anyone thinks. The people who work with me, the people who work for me, the customer, I just don't care. And I'm like, those people need to get out of management fast, because all they're doing is burning down the business on their way out. If you are not enjoying compassionate listening, that is like a great sign of it is time to pivot into another position or another industry, even whatever's necessary. And some of that honestly can have to do with toxic work environment. No one manager can fix a toxic work environment, because toxic environments come from the top down. So if there's somebody in charge above you, or let alone like a whole hierarchy of it, you can only change what you have influence over, and no one person has influence over everything. Not even in a small business. I say that as a former small business owner, where, I mean, I think at one point we had like 8 employees, including myself, and I still could not, entirely set the tone for our small business culture. It had to do with what the other people working there also wanted. So,
and also, good management, the people under them will always feel protected by that manager, versus the toxic culture will always be, they assume the management will throw them under the bus at any given moment.
I've had more than a few employees call me in the middle of the night. And when I say middle, I mean like 2, 3 a.m. in tears because emergencies had happened. And it's not that they're just letting me know they can't come in tomorrow. They are telling me, I need help. Please come help me in my crisis right this minute. And I'm like, let me get my shoes on. Let me get out there. Do I need proper clothes, or are my pajamas okay? Am I about to have to talk to the police? That sort of, and when the people you're supervising feel so safe with you that they feel they can call you in a genuine life crisis, that you are doing your best work. And, I have shown up with, Neosporin Band-Aids and, ready to talk to the police on behalf of one of my employees, because she was, getting beaten up by her boyfriend, who she already had a restraining order against. And I'm like, I'll take care of this. If anyone asks, I'm your cousin.
Wow.
Management should always feel like they are in your corner.
Mm-hmm.
And if your direct manager or supervisor doesn't make you feel that way, this may not be the place for you to shine. And if you're okay with that, that's fine. But if you want a place where you can shine, it's time to keep looking.
So that means literary agents, or whatever kind of agents, music managers, like band managers, all these people fall into this category, right?
Yes.
And that was actually what a couple years ago, the writers' strike in Hollywood was about.
Yes.
Specifically.
The Writers Guild, yeah.
Was because the agents were no longer on the writer's side. They were simply using them as a means to an end, and not disclosing that they were doing this.
Of course. Someone with bad intentions is not going to come to you like, my intention is to use you and take all the money from you. No.
Actually, I'm going to say this. You would be surprised how many people will actually tell you very early on how they are and what they believe. So believe people when they tell you they're a bad actor, they're a bad actor. You're not going to find, the diamond in the rough on this. You would be surprised if you actually listen how many people really will tell you that they are, a shallow bee, or that they just like to watch people hop at their will or whatever. People are surprisingly open about letting things out, that you're like, why would you say the quiet part loud? So, especially early in any new relationship, listen to people about like the little throwaway lines. They will tell you
Right.
who they really are.
Yeah.
They will tell you who they really are. And it is up to you if you believe it or not, but you should learn to believe it. Because like when a person tells you, you will be very far from me the moment you discover who I am. I'm like, I'm leaving right now.
Yes. So
Lesson learned. Lesson
Mhm.
learned.
Hmm.
I have been alarmed how many times I've worked at companies and the management has told me in like, I guess I would say candid moments, like at lunch or on break where we're just chit-chatting, just shooting the breeze, and they tell me things that I'm like, oh, this person does not have my back. This person does not genuinely care if I live or die. Who I am in a dangerous place now. Like realizing that of like when someone tells you something that you're like, oh, this person does not care about me at all, like whether I breathe or not. That is a serious red flag. Always listen to the red flags. Even if it is inconvenient, even if it means like you need to like, even though you're exhausted, when you get home, you need to start brushing off that resume and start like talking to friends about, does anyone know of any jobs? Because you need to be safe. And anyone who you're working with who doesn't care whether you live and die means they do not care about you, whether you live and die. And that is a heartbreaking situation, because here I want to tell y'all something. Scientifically proven that when someone gives you a fake smile, it actually causes distress to your physical heart.
Hmm.
So think about all the people you know with heart disease. Those people are all exposed to a lot of people giving them fake smiles.
Yeah.
That's a fake smile. Versus the people who are used to getting genuine smiles, their hearts are not negatively affected. I'm not saying that heart disease is caused entirely by fake smiles, but I'm saying that it has been scientifically proven to be a contributing factor, even to people who did not have any heart disease prior to, for instance, working at a place that, was studied through tapes and had a lot of fake smiles being exchanged.
Yeah. It makes sense.
See, Maggie says, because I was very young, that you can't get good work out of people unless they feel valued. It's true. It's very true. He just says, Charlie, careful what you manifest. Intention isn't always necessary. Or if it is, it isn't always obvious. Yeah, Charlie, doll. I say that a lot. I'm surprised anyone stays when they get to know me. Aw, Charlie.
But yeah, like that was found. Anything else, or should we go on to next?
That's, I think, like what I'd have to say about general management. I mean, there's a lot of specific stuff, but that's not. We're just doing like a survey thing because.
Yeah. I thought maybe real quick a fun set of ones.
Okay.
Here are jobs for people that like things in miniature. All right.
Okay.
And we'll go over them separately, but still, like real quick, these all actually have surprising qualities in common. Dentists, archaeologists, museum curators, and architects.
Makes
They
sense.
all like small things.
And they like
Dentists,
making small things. So not just looking at small things, but building little tiny things with like tweezers and like tiny little brushes.
Dentists are sort of on the outside of this. They tend to be more jewelry makers without the skills to be paid well to be jewelry makers, but almost all dentists in their free time make jewelry.
Mm-hmm. Because they have access to all that silver and gold.
That is true. That is true.
And they love Play-doh and sculpting things. So, and what do you do?
Find dentists will make you like those little earrings out of Sculpey or other clays. So like, I want you to make me cupcakes. Can you make me tiny cupcake earrings? They're like, I will have this done for you by the weekend. You know, like they just like making lots of tiny little things.
And those are all happy dentists.
Yes.
I used to have a job before the pandemic took it away from me. I was an in-person translator. As a volunteer, I wasn't paid. So like a volunteer job where I was translating in person, and we had volunteer students from the US coming up here to help people in impoverished areas, blah blah blah, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we had people from a college, and we had a brigade, the kind of brigade, right? I think that's the word. Or like a trip, like a field trip or whatever you want to call this. And they were and so they were assisting, but we had like different categories, and one of them was like the dental assistant help, or like trip or brigade or whatever you want to call it. And goodness, like there was one guy who was working in jewelry.
Yep.
So that's why I jumped.
Yes.
Like, this is true.
Yeah.
They really do.
Oh my.
Yeah, they all do. They
they'll
all
make
do.
you custom filigree stuff if you ask, like, hey, I would love, like if you can show them something that like has filigree on it and like, hey, do you guys ever work in filigree? And they're like, I can make something for you. Especially if you don't have a time constraint. Like, yeah, there's plenty of dentists too. You can like hit up for essentially handcrafted jewelry at, cost prices. Since they also can buy the metal wholesale. So yeah, it's kind of cool. And those are all happy dentists.
Yeah.
Nice.
The other one who likes to make miniature stuff is definitely museum curators and ones who design museum stuff. We're actually friends with people who have done it, including
dioramas. Like, do you know someone,
yeah.
Do you know a child who just makes dioramas and keeps giving people dioramas? This child will likely, before they die, end up working in a museum.
This is also true. I saw this in a novel, even in a novel,
cool.
like on one of my favorite recent reads, All the Light We Cannot See. The father of this blind girl, he worked in a museum, and because he had a blind girl back in the day when the technology wasn't advanced, he created a scale model of the neighborhood so she could learn it with her hands, and then she could walk independently. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful novel.
I enjoy making dioramas too, but yeah, I found that out by accident because I had made, when I was working at the library, we had a yearly program for Easter that was, you'd make dioramas with Peeps. Do y'all know the marshmallow Peeps?
Oh yeah.
And so, but I had to make one as an example because people kept asking, well, what is this make a Peep scene? I don't, because like in theory, you make it from your favorite book or movie. So I made 12 Angry Peeps. And I had to make like a little table. I don't know if anyone's familiar with the movie or the book, but 12 Angry Men, it has, what's his name? That's so cute. Anyway,
yeah, 12 Angry Men. I watched
right.
the movie. Yeah.
And I couldn't fit all 12 Peeps in there. So, just some of them, I'm like, the others are on the other side of this diorama that you cannot see. But I handcrafted a tiny little knife with aluminum foil and a hilt. Anyway, and everything was glued down. And I showed that. And it was so funny. The people who were like, oh my God, who made this
Glory
diorama? And every time I was like, oh, I did. And we would talk. Every single one of them was running a museum. I found out about museums I did not know we had in this area. And I thought I knew about all the museums.
The Checkers Museum.
Yes, the guy who ran the Checkers
here.
Museum came in and was like, this is amazing. Can I take pictures? I'm like, you take as many pictures as you want, buddy. I'm like, he's like, moving it. This is really great. I'm like, you should make a diorama with checkers. He's like, oh, yes, I will do that. Like make some dioramas because something about working in a museum, you're going to love dioramas. I don't know.
And then architects and dollhouses.
Yes.
Like architects all love dollhouses, whether they want to admit it in public or not. They love dollhouses. They make so many.
If you know an architect, you can hit them up for a dollhouse. Like, will you make me a dollhouse for cost? And they will make you one that will last the test of time. Like 100 years later, your family's still inheriting this dollhouse.
Nice.
Yeah.
At least all the good ones. If the architect's like, oh, I don't do that, it's like, oh, suspicious.
Yes. Be very.
But yeah, like pretty much every architect I've ever met, I'm like, oh, so if there was a dollhouse I wanted, like maybe a Frank Lloyd Wright dollhouse, they're like, oh, if you're interested in Frank Lloyd Wright, I did my master's on, some other architect. I'm like, I would be very interested in seeing your Guggenheim dollhouse. Yes. So yeah, you pretty much hit up all the architects who really love their job. They will make like a variety of wild and electrified dollhouses. Because don't you want all the lights to work? I do.
Versus if you're more for the simple dollhouse, if you find someone who's like, I just like simpler dollhouses and they like history, that's archaeologists. They love to, and then they also like to put things into small pieces. They like to break it apart into tiny little pieces so that you can truly see all the detail.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we've known a couple archaeologists, whether it's, the recent past couple hundred years, or we're talking, several million. They're all just like, no, we have to be able to see the detail parts as well. What's the fun of a dollhouse if we can't also see detail like in the crown molding?
Yeah, there's two kinds of archaeologists. It seems like two major types. And they're the kind there's the kind that love to play in dirt, like love to be in the dirt every day. And
they literally look like the stereotypes of archaeologists, by the way.
Many of them wear pith helmets or Stetsons. It's kind of interesting.
We were invited down to an archaeological dig on the coast. We took pictures.
Yes.
The people in charge, there were 3 people. They were the 3 stereotypes of archaeologists. They didn't know it. But yeah, they were.
So there's the ones who like to play in dirt. And then there's the other side, the ones who like to take everything that was found on the digs and then reconstruct and examine and do all of the lab stuff. And those are the ones that often also like to make the little villages and recreate everything using the same materials or something very similar.
Yes.
And I mean, like, you can be both. It's just that it seems like there's not often both. I think I've only met 2 or 3 archaeologists that enjoy both the dig and the lab work. But for the most part, they kind of self-select for one side or the other. So, essentially, if you're not into dirt, then you're more like Bones, like the book and the movie, the TV show, that you're far more about, cataloging everything and then reconstructing it and doing a lot of laborious, making models of what you've already gotten from digs and so on. And writing a lot of papers.
Yes.
The ones who do the digs do not seem to really enjoy writing reports.
No, they don't.
They will bribe the ones who like to be in the lab to write the reports for them. They will bribe them.
That would be me.
So I just say, like, that's what we found among archaeologists. I certainly enjoy hanging out with both. But it is amazing the cosplay. So essentially, do you like wearing a lab coat or do you like wearing a hat? A kind of hat.
Mm-hmm.
Maggie says, my husband loves planning the gardener rock hounding. Does that say hounding?
Yes.
Okay. He will spend hours on his knees with his hands in the soil pulling plants, but most of all, he loves rocks, fossils, etc. We both do. Our bees are miniature cities to him, city boy, and living organisms to me like a herd, farm girl. I mean, these are kind of both, aren't they? Steve says, I keep confusing archaeologists and paleontologists. So there is a certain level of crossover as far as personalities go, I would say, between paleontologists and archaeologists. But yes, do you enjoy the animals from millions of years ago, or the more thousands of years ago animals? Like, that's sort of the difference. To me, it's like, they're both potatoes. They're just different kinds of potatoes. So,
Let's see. Oh, and one that people often think would have a lot of overlap that actually has very little, and that is theater techs. People that do all the set design and everything else for theaters, not that much into miniature. Instead, those are people who like to make one thing look like another. These people love spy movies. They love Mythbusters. They love making toys, but full-size toys. And that's what I found.
They love that whole Trump L'Oreal. Was it Trump L'Oreal or Trump L'Oreal? My French is terrible.
Trump Loyal.
Trump Loyal. Thank you. It was none of the above, Glory. That where you paint something to look like something else, it's like an optical illusion. Theater techs are really into optical illusion, y'all. Which, nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, like, if you go into someone's house and they have a bunch of optical illusions as their decorations, you can ask, were you a theater tech?
Yeah, they're kind of like engineers that broke off because they wanted to have more fun and interaction with it.
Yeah.
Let's see. Actors.
What about actors? Like, they like to play pretend?
Yeah, so you have to like to play pretend. And have you ever been called a hollow reed?
Same with models. There's nothing going on in their head when they're modeling. Ditto for actors. They are empty inside. Which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, you need to at least be able to truly empty one's mind.
Let's see. Psychiatrists.
You mean potential war criminals?
Yes. War crimes are okay.
Okay, a quick caveat. It's not all psychiatrists, because there are some psychiatrists who end up in psychiatry because, for instance, that was the only spot available when they were divvying up. I'm not joking. It's a real story of someone I know.
I studied psychology because it was like the only thing available.
Yeah.
Look at this.
And that's
Case
my
in
bachelor's
point.
degree is in psychology and education. But like a psychiatrist, there is a surprising high percentage of psychiatrists who you talk to them for 5-10 minutes casually and you're like, whoa, this person is a potential war criminal. So, yeah.
Why, though?
Because the world puts out so many war criminals.
So psychiatrists are people who who are doctors. Like, psychiatry is for medical doctors.
Psychiatry is a medical degree.
Yes,
but then it's a specialty in psychology.
And psychiatrists are people who have come to the understanding that hormones are amazing and what they make people act and do, and people lie to themselves a lot. So how can you expect them to tell the truth to you? And so there becomes this weird disassociation they have from other humans, pain and other things. Like,
they are so detached.
Yes.
Like,
everyone and everything is other.
But it's not that they learn that as a professional. It was they already came to the profession as that way.
Yeah.
So there's I would not say that most psychiatrists make the most warm, supportive friends.
No, they don't. No, they don't. They are okay. What are your symptoms? Okay, we have this pill here. I mean, I'm going to prescribe it to you. And
been friends with two different psychiatrists, but these two were truly the exceptions. Like, they got into psychiatry a totally different way of, like, it was the only spot available because. And so
I mean,
now I'm not really into it, but here I am.
I mean, I had psychiatry meetings because of my depression thing.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it was like, okay, what are your symptoms? Okay, like, well, we can try this pill. Okay, we can try this other pill. If that doesn't work, you come with me in 2 weeks and but like, so detached. It was like, okay, here's your prescription, go. I was like, the fuck is going on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not very helpful with depression. That was, and I should say that the majority of the psychologists I have seen, I have not been lucky. It's I guess because I'm a foreigner and it's kind of hard to understand a
Mm.
foreigner.
Yeah, because psychology is very much within society.
Mhm.
Is how psychology works. It is, it doesn't actually translate much from culture to culture.
Right. This is why, if I didn't finish the studies over there, I can not really finish them over here because it's going to be completely different. So basically, if you want to do that, you have to start over.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's a very sad career. You gotta be really like, okay, in my classroom I was we did this social experiment kind of thing where they give you a blank piece of paper and they ask you, if you were invisible for 24 hours, what would you do? Everybody wrote something really selfish. I would stalk my boyfriend. I would rob a bank. I would steal whatever. I would go to a museum for free. I would go to this place for free. I would do this for like selfish crap. I was like, well, I would be a spy and try to find like what's the politician's next warfare move and try to expose it because I was very pro-social and I was the only one in the class. And that was so scary. I was like, what the hell am I doing here?
Yes. Yep, that's accurate.
Yeah.
So I am not a good psychologist. I have I have two hearts. No, that's an alien joke. I don't have two hearts. That's a brand thing.
We are Whovians over here, so yes.
Yes. I was seeing that and I was just being brought up, therapists seem to be more like nurses than psych doctors. And that's relatively right. Nurses I found are very particular people. I tried to become a nurse and then I found the profession was not for me. But I did find that to be a nurse, you have to have some very weird wants and interests. You have to have a need to mother everyone.
Everyone, whether they want mothering or not.
You have what in the psychological world we would call messy boundaries.
Yes.
Their boundaries are not very well defined.
Which one is this?
Nursing.
Nurse.
Oh.
And the last one that is really telling and no one talks about, and it took me forever to figure out. They like to be in charge of people, not organizations. They want to be in charge, but they want to be directly in charge of someone.
Like supervising.
Yeah. They're not interested in running a group or anything. They want to actually talk with the people they're in charge of. Hence, nursing being in charge of some people when they're sick.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's not something like you enjoy being and doing, you burn out really quick in nursing. Because you get stuck.
Nurses have to do whatever doctors say without question, no questioning, no cross-examining, nothing. They just have to, be absolutely obedient or you get fired.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be absolutely comfortable with never questioning authority.
Yep, I cannot be a nurse. Sorry.
Which is the opposite of what makes a good journalist. A good journalist is always questioning authority.
Oh, yes.
And so it's kind of interesting since we have friends in all of these kinds of professions. Also,
I met someone working in nursing, and I can see the controlling thing, the messy boundaries thing, the supervising thing, the mommying thing. I see all the things that you mentioned in this one person. Yep. And I think I found the reasons why I just didn't get along with that one. I mean, I didn't have any drama. It's just that I was like, maybe
personality differences of like, no, that's not what I value. I will say you'll almost always find the best snacks at nurses' houses.
Yes.
Nice.
That's true. My grandparents were, my grandma and her twin sister were both
especially
nurses.
the junky snacks. Whatever's the hottest junk snacks, you're going to find that at a nurse's house. And so, I mean, honestly, if you're feeling snacky, go to a nurse's house, in my opinion. They've also got like all the great takeaway snacks. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yes. Whether they have kids or not, they almost always have like a whole cabinet full of snacks, like hardcore stocked with snacks of whatever they like. So, did you want to bring up any more, or should we start?
Well, real quick, why don't we talk about news journalists? Because we've known a couple of those as well.
Okay.
Speaking of people who are paranoid of power and, anxious, a bit obsessive. And when we say a bit paranoid, we mean all good journalists have at minimum 2 sets of notes and, lists of info on people. One is hidden away that they don't tell anyone, even their family.
Yeah. No good journalist, because every journalist is, told either when they're going to journalism school or they're told by their mentors at their work, if they're so lucky to actually have mentors, that you never can tell when your notes are going to be subpoenaed for a court case. So you have 2 sets of notes. You have the set of notes to be subpoenaed, and you have your super secret hidden set of notes, where you have a super secret place somewhere, either in your house or at your parents' house or somewhere in a wall, that these notes do not get subpoenaed, and they are your real notes about everything. Because to be a really good journalist, you need to be good at being a fly on the wall. You need to be really good about being not noticed. And
Right.
you also need to have pretty decent hearing, or if you do not have really good hearing, then you need to be really chummy with all of the employees no one ever pays attention to. The receptionists, the custodians, the clerk of the court, all the people nobody pays attention to. The secretaries, you need to be on first name basis, preferably with their phone numbers in your phones, so that you can just text funny little memes, and then every once in a while they'll message you, you should see who just came in, and they'll send you a picture, and you're like, ooh, got a scoop. So there's 2 sets of notes all good journalists have. And
Dude.
it's a little secret that journalists don't really talk about publicly. But I feel like since, yes, I did go to school for photojournalism. No, I did not finish. So I'm like, I can say it, whereas other journalists cannot.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead.
So glad to hear this, because there is a journalist in my sci-fi novel, and it fits. And I didn't know this. I just guessed it.
Yeah. The other thing I will say, I have been concerned about is the new journalists coming out, the early 20s, do not seem to understand how periods work. A basic understanding of grammar would be really helpful, because, let me just point out, eats, shoots, and leaves. It has different meanings depending on comma placement, y'all. It's important. I'm just saying, I'm not saying taking a whole class on grammar, 3 college credits worth, like I actually have. It was a requirement for my degree in education. But it would be helpful. I've actually had to take it also when I was going to get a photojournalist degree. I had to then take grammar. They were like, no, your general grammar from the English department did not count. You have to do it again. And I'm like, sure. I was the only person who got 100. All the journalist students were like they had a 50% fail rate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and this was 12 years ago, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
They had over a 50% fail rate. And I'm like, fail. So they had to change the class to just pass fail. They couldn't even do C average. Yeah, Anyway, I'm just saying, if you're interested in journalism, or you're doing a character who's a journalist, please let them make sure they know where periods go. And it is sometimes important to have comma placement. There's basic children's picture books about grammar. I highly recommend. You just read it. Get it from the library. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to be insulting. I am not trying to be passionate about anybody. I mean this with all my heart. Just get a basic understanding of where periods go and where commas go to avoid misunderstandings. That's
right.
all. That's all.
I mean, I'll take it. I have a problem with punctuation that has improved. Has improved quite a lot, because I have worked with editors. But it's still not perfect. Sure. And I have
Nobody's perfect.
I mean, I have it because I'm visually impaired.
Yes.
Most
Yeah.
of my reading is with my ears. I don't see where the comma goes and the period goes. Now, I understand the basics at the very least, and it has improved. But I don't see this as insulting at all, even though my punctuation is questionable as a writer.
It's just where there could be a misunderstanding about the meaning of the sentence.
Yes.
That's where a period is important. Yes. Maggie says Rachel Ray likes cooking her dogs and family. Gosh, wouldn't it be so great if we had a comma in here? Rachel Ray likes cooking her dogs and family. Like, yes, it is just about period and I'm not asking for the rest of grammar. I don't care. And while I'm happy to help anybody with diagramming sentences, I'm absolutely shocked that they don't teach diagramming sentences anymore. I guess because a lot of teachers thought, oh, it's so obvious and simple, we don't need to cover it, versus it is the basics of a technical understanding of the English language. But okay, I'm happy to help people because I actually have taught this. But again, I mean that with all my heart of like, just really for journalists, please understand where the period goes and where commas go in order to avoid misunderstandings, because you can get sued if you put the comma in the wrong place or you don't put the comma in at all. So,
by the way, this part for Maggie is also kind of true.
I don't know if there are trustworthy journalism majors or journalists. They seem like they would sell out / betray the person closest to them if it got them a more dramatic / popular story while claiming.
I agree with that statement.
I have some very close friends who are journalists, and there are things I would never tell them because it would be too tempting for them to utilize this information for their own gain, for their own career gain. And I understand that. And I have actually had these conversations with my closest friends who are journalists about this, and they've agreed, yeah, don't tell me. Don't tempt me. So you can love people. Do you hear a echo? I can hear myself echoing.
It's me. I got some problems with the audio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is again notorious disability problem. They see me like a journalist student or something. They see me, and I am so inspiring, and I'm over here like, oh crap, here we go. It's like I am news object, because I'm disabled and I'm a foreigner moving through the world like a nomad in such an inspiring way despite her disability. And I'm over here like, dude, everybody freaking travels. Everybody does it. But you have a disability. And I'm over here like, yeah, okay. So what? The airports have like blind assistants and shit. I use it all the time. There's nothing inspirational about it. I request a service, I travel, I'm happy. Done. But, it's a inspiration thing. And I'm over here like, no, I don't want to be your next motivational speaker. Actually, do you guys have information on motivational speakers? Because I see a lot of disabled people that feel like pushed into that thing because,
Are you talking about like agencies that you can use for booking inspirational speakers?
Yeah.
I am familiar with several agencies.
No, I don't want to be one.
Oh, okay.
No, that's the last thing.
The last thing. Cash in where you can. I mean, is there make this disability pay you? Like,
right, but honestly,
I understand, not wanting to bank on it, but I mean, it occurred to me a minute ago of do you realize everybody on our panel today has some sort of disability issue?
Yeah, we all do.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We all do.
Yes. But we all, none of us really think much about it, but the outside world certainly thinks plenty about all of our challenges or what we deal with every day. They think a lot about it, but we're like, I'm just living my life here. What's your
deal?
It's just a part of your. It's just a part of you now. It's not something like. I mean, it's great that people are like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you. You're a mom and you teach your kids and you have MS and how do you do?" I'm like, I just do. I don't think about how I'm going to do my day because of all these things I have going on with me. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think of it as something else. It's just a part of your life now.
Yeah, but I hear about people with disabilities especially blind people. Like it's a thing for blind people. We have to be this inspiring resource of inspirational sunshine brightness, and I'm over here like, no, I am not. I'm actually depressed.
Yes,
So-
because the outside world is so unwelcoming to anyone who doesn't have a perfect body and mind.
right.
And
And
also
and
what is
then
perfect.
and then I'm here wondering, because there are a lot of motivational speakers who are fully able. So I'm thinking, what is the temperance for a motivational speaker? What
Tom.
what do they do?
Oh, you want to know what makes
Hold
up
on,
a
let's say Maggie's thing, because
Yeah.
Doll, it's Maggie said something in chat directed at you at Doll. Do they talk louder to you, like volume will make you better able to understand? My biological mom hated that.
In some countries where I have been, yes. In Hungary hasn't happened. In Argentina hasn't happened. But in other countries, yeah. And it depends on the person. I even had people. Oh, crap! I even had
Okay.
people. Oh, sorry, my laptop just decided to have a tantrum. Sorry. Yeah, but I even met a few people who talked to me like this, like I was a little
Oh, the baby
child.
talk. Yes, the baby talk.
Oh my god! I was like, oh, I'm 23. Thank you.
I'll tell you, our stepmother was blind, and the one that used to irritate me was where people would talk to me about what she wanted to order at restaurants or what she wanted to do, whatever. And I'm like, I don't know why you're asking me. This is the lady with the credit card.
Good
She's
one.
paid for me to be here. I don't know why you think I don't know. I don't have telepathy. And I would be like, our stepmom's name was Dottie. I was like, Dottie, what do you want? Yeah. And then, I'm like, and then I would look at the wait staff or whoever, and I'm like, and it's like, so what does she want? I'm like, you did not hear her? Or are you hearing impaired? Oh no, I am not hearing impaired. Like, she just literally said it. Like, as if I don't.
Wow.
And it happened all the time. I mean, both in the Philippines and in America. And I'm like, I enjoy being an assistant to my stepmother. We really enjoyed working together on many projects. In fact, she's the reason I got a job working in sales for Microsoft when their Internet Explorer 4.0 came out. But I'm just like, this is so flippin' awkward. And also, like, I'm so glad that my stepmother cannot see the ugly faces I am making at all these other people. Like, so, because my stepmother would have been like, Glory, behave. Because I was like 18, 19 years old, just with like ugly faces at people of like, what the heck is wrong with you people? And like, because she was completely blind, she could not see it and they weren't saying anything. So I never got busted on this. So,
Yeah.
Like,
Also,
I would gesture ugly and everything, like, like just the most insolent teenager you could imagine when they're like asking me what my stepmother wants, and she's literally right here, and I'm like, did you hear her? So anyhow, that was my personal pet peeve. She was just so used to it that she's like, look, it's just life, Glory, and I'm like, I feel like I need to give people heck. I was that age.
yeah. Also, the question about how a disabled person looks like. In my case, it's notorious that my eyes look kind of funky. That's and it's notorious, and people are like, "What happened to your eyes? What's wrong?" And I'm over here like, they were born like this. I have no operation. It's not hereditary. I just learned a whole discourse just to throw it at them quickly.
Yeah, and like our stepmother had an ulcer in one of her eyes, at least, or was it both eyes? I don't remember anymore. But
It was both from the oxygen, because she was a preemie.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
okay.
oxygen burned her eyes.
Yeah.
Well, her retinas.
So there was a visual indicator that she at least couldn't see like entirely the same as others, and she was entirely blind. So there was a visual indicator for other people.
But the motivational speaker,
Yes.
those are,
Okay.
you have
so
to be delusional.
Yes.
That is actually a requirement to be a motivational speaker. You have to be able to, you believe that any problem, no matter how complex, can be simplified into short phrases. I mean,
oh boy.
Or
for
jingoism.
like, there's a movie, if you really want to understand this, Mike Myers did, called The Love Guru, that like the entire first 30 minutes is just showing all the things wrong with motivational speakers.
I need to
mean-
watch that. I need to watch that film. Like, can you write it to me in the private chat so I
Oh,
can
sure.
like just
Yeah.
yeah,
So
so I
Gloria and
can
I love it. A lot of people didn't like it as much because it wasn't like Mike Myers' normal movies.
Usual stuff, yeah.
But he's actually friends with Deepak Chopra, so he's rather ribbing Deepak about a lot of the stuff Deepak writes.
Yeah.
And they're just going, but I'm such a worse version in the movie. You know, no one will ever think. Like, his character is literally jealous of Deepak Chopra.
Yes.
So we really enjoyed it.
Yes, we enjoyed it. It was very funny. Also, we love like the, love of Celine Dion in it. Because I mean, if that isn't French Canadians, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I mean, this is maybe the biggest reason why I am like, nope, I cannot be a motivational speaker. I don't have a heart for it. It's like being delusional thing. I'm so freaking pessimistic and depressed, and like I try to see reality for how bleak it actually is. I cannot jump on a stage like, oh, everything's gonna be fine, and I was bullied in school, but I overcame it, and now I am a success. Like, please, I know a blind woman who does that, and I'm like, girl, no.
Versus, like, they've actually tested out with both behavioral economists and psychologists. The last person you want to take advice from on how to be successful is anyone who writes a book on how to be successful.
For real,
worst.
there's actually a study about this.
Yeah. So, yeah, to be a motivational speaker, you have to actually be semi-delusional. I mean, it's the same thing with most people who are evangelical. Again, this thought that you can simplify any problem down to a sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And to quantify everything, it's like, no, you can't just simplify everything.
Right. So do you want to start wrapping up, or do you want to have some more things to cover? Or what do you want to do, Tom? This is your show. Oh, also, what are we doing for next?
Let's see. Let me hit up the last couple ones I have written.
Okay.
Slash, let's get, at least me in trouble.
Okay.
If anyone should ever find this.
Okay.
Let's see. Politicians. To be a politician, you must be the life of the party. You must enjoy socializing and talking about anything. But if you actually want to be a successful politician, you have to be the life of the party. That's why football captains, football quarterbacks tend to be politicians later in life. Because they're just used to being the life of the party, and that's how being a politician works.
I mean, it has nothing to do with getting a degree in public policy or having any clue
No.
how government works or organizing or
Nope.
how to safeguard your, constituent, whatever. Anyway. Mm-hmm. Go on.
Economists, there is an equation for that. You have to believe that you can quantify everything.
For that. I thought there's a diagram for that.
Yeah, or a diagram. It's the same thing, but there's a way we can make an equation for that. Let's see. Woodworkers, carvers, anyone. If you talk with inanimate objects,
Particularly wood.
especially like solid pieces of wood, not that they've been turned into dolls or anything, but like it's just a solid chunk of wood, and you start talking to it, you're probably a woodworker. All right, so the reality of James Bond is a lie. If someone works in intelligence, they look absolutely average.
Yes.
They have no real morals. They have some ethics, but they have no morals, no internal. They are results-oriented, psychopathic, and they will be friends with absolutely anyone.
Well, that's a little different from like some intelligence jobs. They are not like that. But like the ones where they have to go and do field work,
Intelligence gathering.
Yeah, intelligence gathering is different from other jobs in intelligence.
Intelligence analysts are a different group. You're right.
Yeah, I would go with sociopathic there on that one.
Let's see. If you want to be a cook.
I was accused of possibly being a spy, and I was like, no, but it was because of the speaking many languages thing. So I guess it was just a joke.
It's just fun with being polylingual.
It's like because I'm blind. I'm a foreign student back in the day when this happened, and my student job was walking dogs. They were like, "Girl, you're a spy." That's like a crappy alibi. That's the crappiest spy alibi I've ever heard. Why are you here for? And I'm like, whoa, I've never had that problem before, but apparently I'm a spy. Ooh, funny. No, I'm not. I promise you I'm not. But it was funny when that joke came along, just because I was capable of like recognizing every single language in a coffee shop without even asking what language is that. Like they were kind of taken aback because of that skill. Like even if I don't speak a language, if I make the guess the language quiz, I go really, really far.
Right.
So yeah, people were scared, and I'm over here like, nope, just a student who walks dogs for real.
Let's see, cooks. You have to smell everything, and not just pretty things. Do you just like smelling everything? You should see Glory travel anywhere. She will smell everything.
Also, you have to like tasting odd combinations.
I don't have sense of smell at all.
You've got 2 senses that you're running low on. Oh dear. Yeah. That's got to be a really interesting experience.
I rely on my hearing. This is why I am good at language detecting. You see, my hearing is my main thing. And then I have the sense of touch. And of course, I can taste food. But I cannot see very well. And my smell is even worse than my eyesight, because I cannot smell anything at all.
Wow.
If you if you thought my blindness was bad, ha ha ha.
Have I got another to take away?
If you think God stopped at just one, you'd be mistaken.
I think also cooks really enjoy feeding people.
Yes.
Because a lot of cooks, myself included, really enjoy. Like I derive apparently far more pleasure out of watching other people eat my food than most people get out of someone else eating their food. Like it is like just I feel so good, as if a room of applause. And it's not like somebody's necessarily saying this is the best food ever. They're not. They're just like, thanks, that was a good meal. I enjoyed that. And I'm like, yes, I am amazing. I feel fantastic. And I gather like a lot of other cooks and chefs also feel that way about anybody eating any of their food, of like they just feel so gratified about nourishing other people. And they, it doesn't matter how much their feet or their back ache, they're just so happy about that. And I can definitely relate to that. So that is really like a difference about people like just really enjoying nourishing other people.
Although, real quick, Maggie mentioned her youngest is interested in becoming a baker. Bakers are different than cooks.
I am one of the very few who's both.
Yes. Very few.
Very few. There's hardly anyone. In fact, I've only ever met one other person who really enjoys and is very good at both stovetop cooking and baking.
And because bakers have to be precise. Everything is repeatable. They are kitchen scientists. Cooks tend to be experiential. Everything changes. They'll just, they work with it as it is. It is not as nearly as precise. Doesn't have to be, because you're actively watching it. But baking has to be such precision. All real bakers much prefer to work with a electronic scale than with
measuring cups.
Yeah, than working with volume of measuring cups and teaspoons and stuff. They would rather have it in grams and ounces. every day.
So basically, Ratatouille was accurate?
Yeah, actually fairly accurate. I would say that.
Nice.
I've only recently watched it a couple months ago, and like I didn't see anything that was really off from all of my experience of all my friendships of people who worked in restaurants and who cooked in various capacities.
Which one?
Ratatouille.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no,
Like,
I had no problems with Ratatouille.
Out, you know? Yeah. But yeah, baking is like alchemy.
Yeah.
It's magic, y'all. It is.
Nice.
It's chemistry.
Marketers, I don't really have a good pull on those. I think you've had a bit more experience. Do you have anything on marketers, Glory? I mean, marketing essentially is pre-advertising.
So with marketing, what you're actually doing is selling the sizzle. You do not sell steaks. You sell the sizzle. So marketing requires a level of fantasy to be successful at it. It requires you both really understand the mentality, the thinking behind your targeted group. So you really have to be able to think like them or have somebody who thinks like them that you can like bounce ideas off of. And then sell them a fantasy, because that is what you are doing, is you are selling fantasy in abbreviated format. So you're selling it through visuals, you're selling it through very small ad copy, but you are selling a fantasy. And but it can't be too fantastical.
But I mean, like that scene in the movie Hook with Robin Williams, where he's at the dinner table and all he sees is steam.
Yeah, with all the Lost Boys.
The Lost Boys are marketers because they get him into where he suddenly sees food that's not there. He's suddenly playing along because he can suddenly he can suddenly taste the sizzle.
Right.
That's marketers.
And sales is related to marketing in that a salesperson, a really good salesperson, listens. Again, we're back to compassionate listening of like, what is your concern or your problem that you have come here in the hopes that the thing I sell may be able to address? And then you then have to listen to the person for a while, like, maybe only 5 minutes or so, but you still need to listen as they explain the problem that they are hoping whatever you have, maybe not, could address. And if it can't, you as a salesperson really need to tell them pretty early up front in order for you to maintain that trust, because sales is based on trust. Shady people do not get return sales, and the money to be made in sales is in the return customer. So, and it's in the word of mouth. Yes, wrestling promoters are marketers because they promote the pay-per-view and the matches. Yes.
Yeah, because they're not actually promoting a known product. They're promoting the potential of a product, of what you might experience. That's why they're marketing. They're not selling. You sell a DVD. You sell a car. You're marketing vacations. Let's see. Real quick, firefighters. If you have to love physical fitness and superhero comics. Like, that is what they all have in common that I've seen. They will work out whether they have a reason to or not.
Nice.
And for the ones who truly, shall we get in trouble and say, the joke line about police officers?
Oof.
What you got, honey?
Why are police officers never paid enough? Why are they always, susceptible to outside earning opportunities?
Why?
Because
they've
wages.
always got multiple. They've always got multiple families. Like they've got a wife, a girlfriend, and a side girlfriend.
Wow.
It's so true.
And they got to pay for all three. They are not being paid.
They want to be the savior of all these people. And it doesn't matter. I mean, like, this is not just like heterosexuals. This is every cop no matter has got, the main spouse or the main partner. Then they've got their side partner. The main partner does not necessarily know about. Then they've got the side partner.
Damn.
And sometimes they're also
No.
flirting with the various waitresses that they're helping on the side a little. And it's like, they are always broke because they are definitely not managing their money of like, dude or person, you only make so much. You can only afford so many side honeys.
Damn.
I literally had to have this conversation with a couple.
Hey, dude. I know
a video store of like, you can only afford so many of these people.
Dude, I know a writer who could possibly be a cop. Just because of I know a person like this.
But yeah, like that is actually one of the oddly things they mostly seem to have in common.
Yeah.
That and laws do not always apply.
No.
They are
Oh,
open
yeah.
to
Interpretation.
situations.
Yep.
Ooh, same
Every
person again.
Every
Good.
cop we've ever known are like, it's negotiable. Which again, that's also the lawyers are too like, it's negotiable.
Does
can,
that apply? Does that apply to PIs too, like private investigators?
Oh, they're
Oh.
just like, no, there is no law that is true. No, they
Yeah.
just it's all boundaries that you can like, circumvent whenever you need to. Yeah.
Oh my god! I have a thriller where there's a PI, and yeah, this is accurate. No, the side honeys, I didn't write about that, but I didn't specify. But that was a PI with no law applies to him.
Yeah.
He can do whatever he wants. He thinks.
Mm-hmm.
Saying you could make them a former cop. Yeah. I would say that most of the prison guards I know who enjoy their job definitely could be diagnosed with some level of sadism.
Yes.
And power
Accurate.
exchange. Like they want to do BDSM, but not in a safe, consensual
Not in
way.
a consensual way. Yeah. And I say that like, well, anyway, that's okay. So how about we discuss what are we going to do next week? The options are allies and friendship or PTSD recovery and dissociation.
Well, I mean, everyone's going to have PTSD after this weekend.
You're terrible. You mean
Why?
after the write-a-thon?
Yes.
Oh god.
I remember the last couple write-a-thons.
Oh God, yes.
Everyone
The
comes
first
in.
one they had, I was there. I was in every chat. I mean, I wasn't on screen, but I was there for the whole thing, and I needed to
Yeah,
recover
you were
for like a
loopy.
month.
You were losing it by the end.
Yeah.
You weren't even there. How would you know?
Because you
I
told
was-
us about
I
it.
was.
I was there. I
I
was there the
I
one
was
in
loopy.
October. I was there the one in October. Was it October, right? September? October? October.
I want to say it was October, but I don't remember anymore. It could have been August
No.
for all I know.
Well, there was one in August and then in October. So one of
October.
those-
I was the one in October. Dude, I missed the stream because
I got started with the April one that Jess had originally scheduled, and that's how I got sucked into AuthorTube, damn it. And that is when I started thinking about getting my own channel. Truthfully. Yeah, ring the bell. If on my channel, if you would like to be notified when our chat live stream starts on March 13th at 9 p.m. Eastern. Doll will be joining me.
yay!
Yay!
I'll be there.
Yes.
Now that she has a working microphone.
Woo!
I will be there unless I'm recovering. Okay.
Cool. Yeah, because you have to save your energy for the stream on Sunday. So. Mhm.
So Maggie, do you want to talk about allies next week?
What do you guys mean by friendships and allies?
So, autism and friendships and autism and allies.
Okay.
Which, it's not necessarily that you need to necessarily be familiar with autism as much as like friendship, everyone who says they're a friend is not necessarily a friend.
Mm-hmm.
But some people are. And everyone who says they're an ally is not necessarily an ally.
Mm-hmm.
But how
Ooh,
can you tell the difference?
Like some people might say they're allies just because like it's what everyone else is doing, or they want
right.
to draw attention to themselves, saying, "Hey, look at me! Like I'm being helpful and I'm
I
supporting
am
them,"
a
when
good
actually they're not.
person.
Yeah,
I am
like
a
that.
good kind. Yeah. Oh, if we talk about that, I'm a talk and ramble on and on about Sia's.
Yes.
Looks like I had it reversed. Maggie's like is for that one in 2 weeks. PTSD for next week, so we can all have a recovery chat.
Okay.
Cool.
So let me get the calendar set looking at it. Okay, so for March 15th, we're going to do PTSD recovery and dissociation, right? Did I get that right?
Mhm.
Yes.
And then for March 22nd, we're going to do allies and friendship,
Yeah.
which means that our last one of the season will be about music and everyone sharing their playlist if they want to share playlists.
Woohoo! I'll be there.
And that'll be March 29th. That's how we're going to close out this season, is talk about music, because everybody's got music to share. I want, and also I hope it'll give people time, if you have music you'd like to share, or put it in a playlist, on whatever your preferred platform, so that you can share it in the chat, so everybody can maybe get exposed to new music and talk about music. And remember, I just want to point out, we've got the paid account on StreamYard, so we can have a total of up to like 8 guests, and then the 2 of us, so that's 10 people total. So everybody could talk about music, or even just get on to talk about their pieces they want to share, like in the links. And then, you don't have to stay if you don't want to.
I was a former musician. I can do this.
Oh, that's awesome. It's exciting.
Yes.
Yes. So that is what our schedule is going to be. I'm very excited about this. This is going to be really cool.
That sounds awesome. I love this.
And then in April, we'll start the second season of Getting Excited About Movies. And y'all going to see, we're going to do something really super special, pretty awesome, fun for that. But in the meantime, I'm not going to tell about that. So anyhow, what do we got? Okay. Oh, yes, Charlie has a new single out. Thank you for the link, sweetheart. There is a link below. And yes, I just thought it would be really fun to end out this season with everybody sharing their music and their playlists and anything, and even multiple playlists. You got multiple playlists? Post them all. So we just thought we'd end it on a high note, like something everybody love. It's going to be great. So, but next Monday, we are going to talk about PTSD recovery and dissociation, something I've been dealing with for decades. So, and everybody is welcome to, again, join us on the StreamYard, on live stream, whatever, on camera, or, avatar mode's fine too. But I just mean like in StreamYard or in chat, because I understand like some people are not for the webcam, or the technology just hasn't caught up yet. Technology. As we know, we struggle with it too. Thank you so much. Yes, we'll see you on the write-a-thon. Stephanie, do you want to tell us about your write-a-thon? You're hosting, right?
Yes, I am hosting during the worldwide write-a-thon, because that's not a mouthful to say. And I volunteered myself to be a host, and it will be on Sunday, March 14th at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 6 a.m. my time, because I can't do math, but Doll's going to be there, Megan's going to be there, Tessa, and then like Tessa Dean and Inuel. I can't pronounce his name. It's someone that Tessa invited.
Yeah, Inuel. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. We're all going to be there in various states of being awake or not. So.
Yes.
Don't worry, I will help you with that. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm also going to be co-hosting 2 streams as well. I'm literally looking right now. Sarah Cahill's on the 13th at 4 p.m. Eastern. And there's the other one. And Sunday, the 14th at 5 p.m. Eastern. That
You're
one
going to be
is
on 2?
Maddie. Yeah. Maddie, Bound by Words.
I'm gonna be on 4 streams.
Woohoo!
Damn. It's like, okay, I start the day on March 13 at 8 a.m. Eastern with Zara Hoffman. Then I'll be on chat number 2 with Laura Nettles at 3 p.m. Eastern. Then I'll be at 9 p.m. with Glory. And then I'll be at 9 a.m. on Sunday the 14th with Stephanie. So 4 streams. I can do this.
Yay!
Good job.
Yeah, I couldn't do this during November or December because I was feeling so low. I had really rough months. It was horrible. But I'm back. I feel I will need recharge after this stream, but you know what I mean? I can do this. I can handle it.
I believe in you.
Yeah.
Stevie says that they'll do their best to be there this weekend, but time difference is yes. And it's going to be a 36-hour write-a-thon. So there's a playlist that Jess will be, I don't know that she's made it public yet, but there is a playlist where everybody's streams will be listed in. And, there's certain ones that definitely will be, I guess you could say, catering more to different parts of the globe as time moves forward. So I like to think there's something for everyone.
There will be.
So like she asked if we wanted to do it the first weekend or the second weekend, and everyone voted. It was exactly split 50% down the middle. So then she just did a random generator thing, and it picked the day. So
yep.
I found that amusing, and I didn't even think about it being daylight savings time until
yeah, she didn't either. So after she had announced, and I was like,
here
we are.
Is it gonna be the same weekend?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh,
no, daylight savings time is at 2 a.m. our time, the 2 o'clock time, but there's no stream that starts at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, she has it scheduled, so it'll be a seamless, schedule for the sprints.
Time, yeah.
But yeah, the physical time will appear wonky because there's a gap, but it's not a real gap. It's just the illusion. Hope you enjoy my jazz hand.
And that's on the 14th.
Well, yeah, technically the 2 a.m. on the 14th.
Yeah,
is when it
in the middle of the night. Yes.
Okay, checks Argentinian standard time clock thing. Oh no.
Yeah, just don't worry about that.
I mean,
whenever you're up, go check the playlist and see what's current.
Dude, I'm with Argentinian standard time. I don't know if we change or we don't. Let me check.
I know. Daylight savings. Yes, I agree, Tamama. Yes, it is. Daylight savings is just awkward. So, did anyone have any outros that they would like to gift us with? Don't let this be awkward.
I already did mine. Right? Didn't I already do mine?
You don't want to do it again? Is the book gone? I love you.
I'll watch you do this. Okay. My name's Stephanie. I have a channel here on YouTube, obviously, because I'm here on YouTube right now, because that's a smart thing to say in my outro. You can find me anywhere, like Instagram, Twitter. I have a new website. It's in the description of my channel. I don't have it linked anywhere on my computer yet. I have one book out, and I have a second book out. It's the series. It's so pretty. Look at the cover. Oh, okay. You can find it on Amazon in paperback and ebook format, and then you can find it pretty much anywhere else that you would buy an ebook from, like Apple, Google Play, Nook, whatever. And if you buy my book, can you please leave a review? That is all. Go to someone else now. Thank you. Oh, yes, that's the link to my ebook. Thank you very much.
It took me a minute. I'm a little slow.
It's all good. It's fine. Okay.
Oh yeah, I should do an outro thing, right?
Yes, you should absolutely do one.
Okay. Let me turn this on then. So, hello there, humans. I am Del Cecile Renault. I am a partially blind own voices author, also known as the Ace from Space. I write primarily sci-fi, as you can tell by my branding and all the stuff that I use for my visuals. I also write short stories in multiple genres and a little bit of poetry. I have a playlist where you can listen to my poems, and I have a playlist with 3 of my short stories in audiobook format on my YouTube channel. But I have 2 short stories out. One is a romance, the other one is a thriller noir, and 2 flash fiction pieces out. One is a sci-fi, and another one is dream fiction, I guess. I don't even know how to call that. But yeah, and
got my attention. It sounds great.
yeah, dream fiction. I basically make my dreams into stories. Whatever. And I have a new flash fiction piece coming out this weekend. I know it's the write-a-thon, but hey, it's a flash fiction. You can listen to it on a break. And I wanted to release it on the 13th of March because it's a historical date. It's very important for Finland. So yes, I'm releasing a new short story in the weekend of the write-a-thon. Like, I don't mind. But yes, short stories, flash fiction. You can find all about that on my YouTube channel. And if you want to support me, you can buy my thriller noir short stories called Danger. It's available on Amazon and iBooks and Barnes and Noble and all the goodies goods. So thank you.
Yay! All right. And those are the links down below.
Thank you for sharing the links.
I'm working on it. Tom, you got anything? Tom's like, how dare you? How dare you, ma'am? I dare, sir. Tom is lovely and he's great. And he's a wonderful person to have in your corner. He is my best friend, my best friend. It's a tier. Best friendship is a tier, but he's like really right there at the beginning. He got in on the ground floor. I'll just say it. When we were little kids, there was this book called The Maggie Bee about a little girl who was about 5 years old, and her dream was to live on a ship with her little brother, James. And he was a baby. He was like a toddler. And that was my 8-year-old dream, was to like live on a ship with my little brother. And I realized recently I'm living out my 8-year-old dream. It's kind of interesting. But yes, it's definitely worth everything I thought it would be when I was 8. Except there's less baked peach cobbler. I'm going to admit that. So, is that it, Tom? Sure. You're still muted, baby. I laugh because I can relate.
Yeah, I think that's just about everything right now. I'm still working on, getting myself together and getting anything put out and made. Right now, just sticking to poems, and we'll see someday if I can get a few things together. I'll put another book out.
And also, I just want to point out, y'all, this community has gotten Tom into writing poetry again after all these decades.
Woo!
I am so grateful. Tom is such a talented writer. I have been telling him for years that I expect that one day he will become a much better known writer than me. And frankly, I think it's because there's so many readers that would absolutely love to read what Tom wants to write. Let's all keep encouraging him. Yes, there's the book, The Maggie Bee by Irene Haas.
I need to get that book, Tom.
It's a children's picture book. It's really a sweet book.
It's a very cute book.
Yes. So, anyhow, hi, I'm Glory. You've wandered into my channel and my stream. Thank you so much for coming. It's been lovely having you here. I am absolutely grateful for you being part of my community. Every one of you who are here, and I know you're here, or maybe I suspect it. And I just want you to know, thank you so much for coming. You are the reason I keep writing. You are the reason I keep telling stories. And you make every week something I look forward to. And I could not say that if you didn't come. So thank you so much. And if I can ever be of service to you, please let me know, because I love being of service too. Anyhow, so next week we are going to talk about PTSD recovery and dissociation as we all recover from the 36-hour ride-a-thon. Yeah, it's going to be amazing. And I'm going to get to host a chat stream, so who knows what that's going to be. Fun fact, there will be prizes. And this time there will be digital prizes, so I think you're going to like it. And we're going to do games. And it's just going to be a fun time. And, I mean, they gave me prime time Saturday night. I don't know what they were thinking. But I hope they don't realize their mistake. So, if you would like to be on a co-host with the chat stream that night, let me know, and I'll be sure to get you the link to it, because the more the merrier.
Wait, what? Okay. Oh, nothing. We're
Okay.
fine.